to say. You go very deep into who's going to care what I'm going to say. What would I say? Who cares what I think? Or even worse, the thing that breaks my heart the most, you actually do post something, somebody leaves a post that you look ugly, and you cripple and fold like a cheap chair. So that's where I spend my time now, trying to figure out how to get people to realize that the judgment of others has zero actual impact on their lives. They have zero context on your actual life. And how do I get you to understand that perspective, which would then lead to you speaking? And when I say speaking, let me break this down. Let me take out the other excuse of why you, for yourself and your business, aren't posting. Not everybody is great on camera. I get that. Not everybody is so wildly charismatic and very good looking. I get it. However, on the flip side, I am incapable of writing. It's not my natural skill. Struggle with reading and writing, it's not a skill. Plenty of people here are incredible writers, and it is an incredible opportunity to go write 6 to 15 sentences together around a thought on LinkedIn and hit post. Others can work in Photoshop to make a picture. Others enjoy. I don't. I was born in the Soviet Union. I grew up in a very Eastern European household. I think there's like 8 pictures of me in my entire youth, right? We didn't take photos, so it doesn't come natural to me. On the other hand, there are people here who took 97 photos on their iPhone yesterday. There are plenty of people here who are great at taking photos. My question here today, my friends, is very simple. When are you going to start talking? What are you waiting for? If you are not communicating, you don't exist. I believe that. If you are not communicating, you do not exist. More importantly, communicate about what you love. What scares me about the long tail of the internet is I know there's somebody sitting in here who's watched every episode of Friends. Okay? Deeply loves Friends. Can't get enough in their own mind of debating Rachel and Ross. Love the show. Watch it every night to go to sleep to. And I know they make $49, $62, $88, $103,000 a year doing something they don't like. And I know that if they started a podcast about Friends every day when they went home, instead of consuming content to escape the fact that they don't like their job, if they created content around the thing they love, that after 24, 36, 48 months, that along could have came Netflix and been a sponsor of that podcast that would allow them to actually leave that job they hate and now be a full-time Friends podcaster. You don't believe that. I understand that. That seems like a far-fetched story to you. The problem is you don't live my life because I wrote a book in 2009 called Crush It that laid this out, and I get to live the best life, and I'll write 3 to 6 emails a day of people that tell me this exact story. Whether it's about pickles. People like pickles. Pickles are crazy. Star Trek. Esports don't even get me started because I used to push it a lot and people have gone completely made real careers now. Just stuff. I just really, really, really hope you hear me today. Whether it's for yourself, whether you're a top executive in your organization and the company still does direct mail or print or still sponsors the town fair instead of running content and ads on Instagram and Facebook, guys, it's 2020. And don't give me this, not in my town, not in my industry. I'm watching your town, your industry. And so that's where we're at. The biggest opportunity in the history of humankind to do what you want to do, and yet you will continue to find reasons not to. And I think that comes in under the categories of self-esteem and self-awareness. I think we need to make those words important in our society. You can work hard all you want. If you're insecure, you're going to be vulnerable. Because the second there's pushback, and there's always pushback in the journey, you won't go there. So that's my framework. Those are things I think about. I spend a lot of time thinking about that. And then, I have a company that helps Fortune 500 companies navigate that world. And I see it every day. Just go back to the planners thing, because I know it's on the radar today. Like, There was a real debate if we could get America to know that Mr. Peanut was dead so that we could run the Super Bowl spot that we're running during the Super Bowl. And if we couldn't, the spot won't make any sense. I and VaynerMedia knew that the internet is real. We knew that if you went on Twitter, like we did yesterday, the Daily Show will pick it up at night. And it will be on all the recap emails this morning, and in the papers, and the AP, and the USA Today. The internet is real life, this is fake life. I'm really going, I know where the people's come from, and by the way, and an enormous amount of people hate that thought, right? Like, I live in life, I know how we are doing such a great job currently demonizing technology. We hate the kid, my favorite is my friends who are parents who because they know where I sit on tech, and they're like, Gary, I'll be hanging out with them, they'll be like, Gary, this tech is terrible, the kids are on it too much, but the second the kid comes over and bothers our conversation over a glass of wine, they throw the iPad at that kid like it's the cure to every disease. The hypocrisy that we have around technology is fascinating. We as humans are incredible at romancing the past and demonizing the current. And so these are the trends I watch. But I will say this. If you are a vibrant, active, ambitious human being, which there is zero reason for you to be at this conference if you're not, zero, and you do not, for yourself or your company, produce in the ballpark of 7 to 25 different pieces of content across 3 to 9 different platforms a day, you are making a fundamental mistake. I'm going to say it again, because when you're talking about 25 pieces of content a day, in a world where 98% of this room is not making 25 pieces of content a year, we have a very big disconnect between where I sit on this and where you sit on this. I am giving this talk for one reason, because D-Rock is filming it, and I'm going to air it in a decade on whatever the current platform is, when it has been completely accepted that everything I just said was 100% right. I have zero interest of you actually taking the advice I just shared. I don't know you. I've got my own problems. I prefer it. I can't, I'm speaking at Harvard tomorrow, so I have to go. I come home Eastern, I gotta go Dallas to Boston at 1:40 in the morning, and on those kind of flights, I like reading the emails of you saying, hey, I saw you in Mobile in 2020, it's now imaginary 2023. I finally listened, I was passionate about X, Y, and Z. I did do an Instagram account or a podcast or a YouTube show, and now 3 years later, this happened. I love that. That is a big win for me in this room. But you won't. You won't. And I know that because I've lived this life now for a while. What is more likely is you're going to email me in 6 years and say, I wish I did, because this happened. Because I was the leading lawyer in town, and this other person who didn't, who's not even, the emails are funny, right? Gary, they come in all shapes and forms. Gary, I wish I listened to you. And you start reading it, because I read because I want the qualitative feedback to learn, right? Heard you 4 years ago at the Atlanta Business Summit, you said the thing, I didn't believe you, I thought you were loud and obnoxious. I'm not cursing today because he asked me, but you cursed, it turned me off. I'm a Jersey boy. Meanwhile, this upstart kid, he listened to you, and then my favorite line, no matter what is lawyer, doctor, real estate, but he's not even good at being a lawyer, but he's killing it on Facebook and he's hurting my business. What do I do now? And I smile. I smile the same way that I saw some of the kids on the field yesterday that didn't go with Vayner Sports, that we know we were in the final 2 with them and they went in a different direction. I see them, I root for them. I'm a kind person, my mom did a good job, but I'd be lying to you if I didn't say when I look at their faces, I smile, no, they made the wrong decision. Because I love merit, I love sports. You either make the right move or you don't. I've already won by articulating my thoughts here today. Either you're going to actually use this talk as the final piece to actually get out there and finally do this, because you cannot be in this room and not know what I'm saying is actually right. Or you're not. and then you ease, and then I get to see you, because they're both good. I did it, or I didn't do it. I both enjoy, because I actually love the merit of the game. I mean that. So, I hope you do it. I don't need you to do it. As a matter of fact, I'll get really technical on you. A lot of my smartest friends always ask me why I do this, because if these people start making content and start running ads, it's going to be harder for you to build what you're building, Gary, and they're right. The feed of Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, it's just one feed. It's just supply and demand. If all of you start posting
supply and demand, bitch.
Less attention, less opportunity for me to build what I'm building. That's where it's going. So I hope I've articulated the punchline. I don't think I'm supposed to be doing Q&A now, but to be very frank, I gave Maggie no person, I'm taking the Q&A, so I'm going to take some of your questions right now. Because to be frank, I think I've articulated my point, and it is the point. If you do any, I was a terrible student, but there was one class I was decent at, it's called history, and I finally figured out why. I like history because I know that things repeat themselves and humans are consistent, and I like context. If you listen to my talk right now and immediately ran home and read a book or articles about the transition of America from the radio to the television, everything I just said would make sense to you. My friends, we have transitioned from the newspaper and television to the internet. It's happened. It's not going back. I'm sorry. It's not my fault. It has happened. It's never going back. This is why the mainstream media will always be wrong about their predictions, because they look at the wrong data. They will always be wrong. Watch it again. They'll always be wrong. It's why my company's exploding, because they work with other agencies for like the Mad Men era. They're always wrong. It's based on subjectivity, politics, ego. We're here. I want you to take advantage of it, because if you don't, somebody else will. There's 330 million of us out here. In this country, 7.7 billion. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so Gary, there's a question that I've done with the company.
What's your name? Brent. Nice to meet you.
To run the company, of course, I have our social media platforms and accounts.
The company. They're personal.
They're business. How do you divide up the kind of content you cross-pollinate there?
Yes. Brent, I think you can do both, right? Like I do. I'm Gary B, but my family wine business, my library has an account. Empathy Wines, my direct-to-consumer wine brand, has an account. Media has an account. We cross-pollinate. Obviously, if you're a big personality, and big comes in a lot of senses. If you're, let me phrase, I'm not going to use it. If you're a personality that brings value in whatever shape or form, you're going to see more people like to follow people over businesses. But it's all about value exchange. But you'll appreciate but there is no right or wrong. Really, there's not. I would say the only thing that you can do wrong is not being yourself. I see a lot of people scared to actually be themselves because they're scared who's watching. And I hate looking at all your LinkedIn accounts. You've got like a suit and tie, you're all professional. Like you think something bad's gonna happen if you're normal. I look like a mess up here. I'm wearing a Tierra Whack sweatshirt. Like the results always win. And I think a lot of people hold back their natural self. The market doesn't care in the end. Somebody may judge you, but the market doesn't care. Yes, sir. What's your name? Tucker.
So I started a podcast called It's Behind the Grind Show.
Okay.
Instagram, LinkedIn, everybody gets on podcasts. I started in October.
Thanks for your commercial. Next.
We started in October.
Okay.
We did and we've had a decent amount of growth in a short period of time.
That's awesome.
And then all because of you.
All because of you. You executed.
Just recently, people that are looking to become sponsors or have their bosses and entrepreneurs on. So my first question is, when is the right time to start monetizing? And then secondly, we just got reached out to potentially do a live audience podcast.
Good.
Because people in Florida. Student Community Institute that reached out to us about potentially brainstorming on that. So with that, we did the conference.
Everything you said is yes and no, and it's important for you at this certain age to understand that. No matter my level of successes or different people's levels of experience, the punchline is it may be yes or no. The key is to not do something that you're so locked in that once you taste it, you realize it's no, that you can't get out. The wrong thing to do with whoever you just talked to at Pensacola is decide a 2-year deal to do it live there, and after the second one, you're like, this sucks, I don't want to do this. So you keep flexibility. The audience won't be mad at you for monetizing, they'll be mad at you for selling out. And that's a very big difference. But I think, but it's so exciting, right? Because I go through this spiel, how long have you been doing it? You mean 4 minutes? If I'm correct, with October, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, you're talking about 9 seconds. Right. It's important for you to see, now, for them to get that level of reach out, they just might be good. Like, there is a variable in everything I just said. You may love talking about basketball. You might just.
Which one? The one that I selected?
So you gotta be self-aware about it. But my big thing is, you may be boring, but it makes you so happy. Like, my big thing is, people don't like their jobs or lives, and then they go and consume things to escape, and I'm trying to get them to create to get happy. You may never become Stephen A. Smith, but if you start podcasts about the Pelicans, even if it gets a little juice, maybe some free tickets to a game, now you're pumped, you like the Pelicans. It's a lot better than watching an entire Aaron Hernandez Netflix documentary. Yeah, I had to go there. I hate those guys so much. I saw Bill Belichick on the sidelines, just started punching him.
Bet.
Cool.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate your support.
Yeah. Real quick, a lot of people aren't accepting of it. Let's talk real quick. Who's not accepting of it? Correct. The people that aren't accepting of it are the ones whose commissions and margins are getting affected. That has nothing to do with the end consumer. I haven't had a single competitor ever love me.
Okay, you're set. Because I spike it, also an unlimited mutual customizes car insurance, so they don't have to pay for what they need. Got it? Did you get that? Only pay for what you need. Liberty.
My disconnect is finding the next connection to find something to show us how to do that, and maintain culture, but also be consumer mindset first.
So, first of all, I'm pumped that you're thinking about that. I mean, you're aware of what I've done with Claude and Chief Heart Officer being able to. Yeah, I mean, look, I think you're, like, even hearing you deliver that sentence, I think for some of the veteran business people in this room, like, we weren't talking about culture 20 years ago. Like, it was just get the results done. So, to scale, I do believe you need culture. You know, at 1,000 people, we have offices in Singapore, London, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Like, you've got to really have culture. I think the fact that you're even thinking about it already means you have a shot at it. It means you're going to throw money at it, and you're going to have an HR department that cares about the employees, not as a disguise for the finance team to fire people. It's just intent. Like, just even hearing how much you know, talking, seeing your vibes in the crew, this is just intent. The reason I always win is because I have intent. My employees first, my customers second, me third. That's a very easy way to win in business. I think we all know that's not how most people do it. And if you're sitting here right now and saying, me, I'm gonna start this business to buy a boat. 2, customers, because there are people that are giving you money. 3, employee, you're gonna build a very small business. Yes, sir. Yep. Stand up, bro. Don't forget. No worries.
also you saying people who want to look at passion learning entire life.
Yes.
I think it's calibrated to start with.
Okay, let's play. You're 19, which I'm so thrilled you're asked this question. It's super important. This thought that you need to have your life figured out at this age is laughable. This thought that we created in society that 18 or 22, you need to know and you go. It's like, we've literally built society backwards. Like, when you first get out of the school machine, which maps 0 to real life, you're supposed to go play real life to have a chance to figure out what you do. So, where do you start? You start with what are you consuming and paying attention to when you have leisure time? Do you play video games? Do you listen to music? Do you like to go out and eat weird food? Do you like, what do you like? That's where you start. So what do you like? Like, what are you about? Good, let's start with comic books. Do you want to create comic books? Do you want to sell comic books? Do you want to buy comic books and flip them? Do you want to work at Comic-Con? All of those things will be a good place for you to start. Cold email and DM 850 different people that are players in the comic book world, and one of them might reply to you when that starts your career. Like, you could literally work for Funko tomorrow. You could literally work for Marvel tomorrow. You could. You just have to write 137 compelling emails and DMs and LinkedIn things. What's that, Liv? Yeah, bro, you can literally do that. Who's 43 and older? We couldn't do that on that. That's not how it worked when we were coming up in the game. You didn't just like say, like, you know, actually, ironically, once in a while I come across an OG who's like, actually, I did do that. I wrote 800 letters. It took 2 months for me to get a response instead of 2 hours. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, in the comic world, there's the movie aspect, there's the actual skill of it. Maybe, like, if you like the drawing of it, you could. Look, let me tell you one thing about winners. A lot of winners didn't get there by accident. So when you write a winner email, your favorite illustrator at DC Comics, hey Sarah, I will bring you coffee, get your laundry, grind and bleed just to intern or work at minimum wage just to see how you do it. 1 out of every 100 of those people, that's how I hired D-Rock because he emailed me 3 times. And now he's D-Rock, and people like call their video people D-Rock. That's his story. Come in. Love it.
You know, listening to a bunch of your stuff, I've always been kind of in the world of wanting to create content for things, but then my surroundings just wasn't about that. So wanted to say thank you first off for like kind of being that person who kind of motivated me to go. So about a year and a half ago, we started doing podcasts, live podcasts on Facebook. Kind of started taking off. We started getting messages. The company started growing. About a week ago, we got a contract for the AYF, which is American Football in the Northeast, to do all their cancer clinics. So it's been super awesome. Also, my name came up for some high school coaching jobs, so it's been like the world's just been kind of going crazy.
No, that can't be.
And it's just crazy that, you know, a year and a half ago, I was like dreamt about this, and now, you know, this is actually one of my goals. But my goal is to get into that as a coach one day. And right now, I see myself in the point of struggle between maintaining the company and then having to go over into putting on it.
Maybe don't try to make the company as big as you know you can because you can't allocate 110% of the energy to it. You're not looking at the company from the perspective of, as you know, an alpha, as a winner, as an ambitious young dude, you're like, I'm building this. You don't have to build it. Like, so many people in this room, how many people here own their own business? Great, this is gonna really hit for a lot of you. There's a lot of people that you talk to afterwards. If you guys see this man afterwards, tell them that built companies, and they built it, let's say, from 0 to $1 million a year, or $500,000. But and they loved it. Life was awesome. But from $1 million to $1.5 million, that like screwed it up. Like there's a Mendoza line where like people don't understand this. This is why I push happiness so much. I'm thrilled that your business now does $3 million instead of $1.6 million. but you used to love your life at 1.6 and you hate it now because you're managing, or you're doing this or that, or you're stressing. I think you can control the size of your business. You can also bring someone in. You can bring in a partner. You can bring in a big-time employee that gets bonused on net profits. There's a lot of hacks for you to go at this. You also can be very patient. Good. So then you shouldn't be stressed. If you say, how old are you? Great. If you say, I'm going to be in the NFL when I'm 42, guess what? It gets a lot less stressful when you're thinking in 14-year terms.
Yeah.
It gets a lot less stressful when
Yeah.
you're not reading other headlines. When you're
Yeah.
a 26-year-old,
Yeah.
have to look to be the number 2 on the offense.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're frustrated.
Yeah.
Don't worry about anybody else.
Yeah.
Just like those friends around you that are like, that won't work. Don't worry about the 26-year-old whiz kid who's on Buffalo right now. That has nothing to do with you. Take it from 44, 42 is plenty young to get your first NFL coaching job.
Yeah.
Understand?
Yeah.
Our relationship with time is something we really have to start talking about in society. It will take a ton of anxiety out of the system. Bro, in 18 months, you've accomplished more than a lot of people have accomplished in their life. Got you, bro. Yes, ladies. Lady, either. What's your name? Rosie. Okay.
And I'm new to this, living it for 3.
Okay.
But I'm the only female in the office. I have no offense to those right here in the room, but I'm not the school of that.
Yeah.
They don't understand, so we need to be doing this, we need to be doing that. And the other thing with the case is because the financial industry very effectively regulates what you can say and can't say.
I'm very aware, but people use regulation as an excuse to not do.
Well, let's say, like, so how do you combat?
You execute by not talking to those old dudes. Very simple. Don't look for permission. Focus on execution. There's nothing more fun. My whole life I was told what I was doing was wrong. It was crazy to launch an internet site for a liquor store in 1996. People thought the internet was a fad. Forget about, is TikTok a fad? Some of the OGs in here know, we debated if the whole thing was a fad. Right? And then I did email instead of catalogs, and that was not smart. What's email? And then I bought Google AdWords, and I was spending more money on Google AdWords than I was spending on direct mail and newspaper ads, and that was stupid. And then I sat down and started filming a wine show on YouTube a month after YouTube came out, and people thought I lost my mind, and that was stupid. And then I took all the money I had in my life, that I saved my whole life, and invested in Facebook and Twitter 5 years before they became public companies. And all my financial advisors and family and everybody else thought that was stupid. I'm only excited when people tell me it is stupid. That's when I know I'm about to do something smart. Yes, sir. The back with the wild shirt. Ethan?
Sir, we launched this big open and we get here things like this. You guys,
You said you launched yesterday? First day.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We were going through classes that it's a great to the degree
Okay.
I started watching last year and I was and so I wanted to go back on that achieved because a lot of boys are that good and I lost it. And so essentially why I'm here is I was at the meeting with you. To us, it's about what we can do even with your music.
Okay.
And what we can do for people that want to hear things. You can be here and able down themselves,
Great. So in a world where I've got a lot of things in front of me, and as you can imagine, this pitch, though much more fun in real life, happens 8,000 times a day. Here's what you need to do. You need to email me. I'll read it tonight because I have long flights. Gary at Media. You need to put in the title. I'm the dude with the weird shirt that launched today. Because then I'll see it, right? I'm the dude with the weird shirt that launched today. And you need to articulate what you mean on the value exchange, and then if it's there, I'll fly it more. Good. Yes, sir. Will? Awesome.
So, my idea for advertising is real good idea.
I'm listening.
And I hand out pieces of my apparel, and you have that Instagram. So I'll hand out a piece of my apparel, shirt or something. I'll say, listen, put the shirt on, do something badass in it. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
That's kind of how I'm looking at it.
I love that. Yes, that's a very good idea.
And I give you a shirt.
Yes. You can definitely give me a shirt. Is it a medium? I will wear it. Give me a medium and I'll wear it. What should he say? How should we do it, D-Rock? You know what? D-Rock's right in front of me. Yeah, I get 80,000, he gets 8,000. It's all screwed up. D-Rock will give it to you right now, the info. Like, D-Rock, send it to attention Lou, and then I'll wear it. Yeah. How are you? Yes. Colton. Cody.
And we come from a father-son company. Our dad's worked in B2B medical industry about 20 years ago.
Okay.
So now we're kind of taking that over.
Okay.
So we still do a lot of direct mail.
Yeah.
A couple thousand pieces a month. We started LinkedIn this year.
Yeah, what do you see? What's happening on LinkedIn?
So we've got about 4,000 followers. We do about 5,000 views on our videos.
How often are you posting?
Once a week.
Once a week.
So we can do
9 a day.
my question is about targeting.
Yes.
We're all B2B, so
I'm very aware.
aware.
As you know, you can run LinkedIn ads against people's job descriptions. Have you done that yet?
That's my question.
Yeah.
Is that something we can understand ourselves?
Yeah. I got a great way for you to learn this. I'll give you guys, if you guys want to learn this as well, I'll give you the website. It's GOOGL.com. But what's really pumped, what I'm really excited about this is you guys, you're capable, can literally, this is crazy, you can literally go to Google and say, how do I target specific professionals on LinkedIn ads, enter, and have unlimited ways to figure out how to do it. It's not the tactics, it's the knowledge of it. The knowledge of knowing that you can target people on LinkedIn. LinkedIn makes direct mail look like child's play when you understand it. Then when you really understand it and you realize that you have to do different content for different doctors in different sectors, in geographic, gender, race, mindset, it gets real gnarly. You understand? Yeah, you can, and the way you do that is you target a specific company, all the employees, and the ad, the piece of content starts, does your head buyer know? Does your accountant know? Like, you see where I'm going? So what you're trying to do is get the employees to forward it to the CFO or the CIO or the head medical device buyer, I don't know what that terminology would be. You see where I'm going? You can literally write the words to say, does your account, if you're selling SaaS financial services, you can literally write along with the video or the PDF or whatever you want, you gotta try different stuff. Does your CFO know that she can, because you know that the CFO of that company is a woman? Like, you do such smart stuff, people don't. All of this is just like health and wellness. Would you like to be healthier and better shape? Let me help you. Eat well and exercise every day. Meanwhile, people are like ass implants, steroids, like apple cider, celery, like people are looking for the hack because people don't want to put in the work. Yes, sir. Michael. Get out. That's awesome. I go to Scotch Plains. By the way, that's my favorite other thing, side hustle life. You can make $20K a year garage sales on the weekend selling on eBay. If you need some side cash, garage sales. Anyway.
So now you blog too, so that's why I try to. Mine's a kind of two-part question that is, since I'm so young, 25, kind of the pressure, get a job, get out there, we see Instagram, everyone's doing everything, and you say drop the tanks. And for me, that can be a little bit later. For me, throughout the tanks, I did sports management, anything that I was back home, used real estate with my father. Tried to do that, and really felt like that wasn't for me my passion.
Good for you. Good.
So I'm trying to go back to sports.
Good.
So trying to find a way there, while I don't have responsibility and all that.
Exactly.
But so my thing is like there's different avenues that I've always and I've gone active, military, sports, like they're all old places. So my question is, my two-part question is, someone that knows public, someone that's allowed to take care of it.
Yes.
Someone has to hire me, someone has to read my resume to do that, and getting past that barrier is like, oh, I want to try this, but I have to get through somebody to do that. Is the first question.
The answer to that is yes and no, right? First of all, that's some of the things I really alluded to here. I just, the next year I started hit. Notice when I said to him that he has to reach out to 137 people. People come out and they Gary, I want to be a sports agent, and I tried really hard. I'm like, cool. Barry, how did you go? He's like, well, I submitted to 3 places. I'm like, 3? Like, yes, there are gatekeepers for certain jobs potentially for you to taste. There's also 7,000 of that. So A, have you asked all 7,000? That's A. B, in the world of content creation and zero startup costs, one could potentially, if they can afford to, one of the reasons, it's funny that we're segueing up the garage sale thing. One of the things I tell a lot of people is like, get a job at 7-Eleven or do garage sales just to maintain your lowest possible cost of living so you can start the thing that makes you happy. And to your point at 25, like 7 years from now, you'll be 32 years old. Do you know how young 32 years old is? Anyway.
The second part to that is like I have built on entrepreneurship thing, and I think that for self-awareness, was preaching, I've always tried to look in self-awareness is a while ago, and I still say it on Instagram that I always look people is to find out what kind of person I am. You always say, for a hungry dog, someone that's at bed does a lot of work.
Correct.
And that kind of stuff. Never mind. I'm fortunate enough
That's right. You were. Of course you were. Of course. Both. Long before I came along or anybody else, the nature-nurture thing has been established. So, I don't know you well enough, but when I was 5, it was not necessarily that my parents, we were very poor immigrants, but I still thought it was more fun to go shovel people's driveways when it snowed and build a snowman because I wanted $1. That was my chemicals. Then I was conditioned because when I was 11 and said, Mom, everyone's getting Nintendo, she said, great, go buy it. All right, that'll go work. So for you, potentially, it's the complete opposite, which is amazing. Maybe you didn't have those chemicals, and then on top of it, you had the great fortune, there's nothing wrong with that. None of us picked our paths where you were fed. So yeah, it's probably more unlikely that you want to go and grind it at 0 and build something for yourself and deal with all the fear and anxiety and loneliness and grind and dirt and blood that comes along with being an entrepreneur. Not the popping bottles and flying in private jet entrepreneurs that you see on Instagram. They're completely full of shit. Sorry, Jim. You got that?
It's been a huge inspiration for us. We have created a content creation video.
Love.
That's like 2-year anniversary.
Congrats.
First, my question is, you talk about
Yes.
and a lot of times we don't know what's the most.
Yeah.
What do we see? And I don't know small sentence personal content, personality content, what it's like Friday or Wednesday. It gets a lot more attention, comments, shares.
Humans like humans.
Yeah. And is that something that a lot of us should be focusing enough to build that brand.
If you like it. A lot of people are very shy, introverted, and don't like the attention from other humans. I don't think they should be making videos.
Second part of the question was, you take a selfie with them?
You can. Real quick, because I want to get an answer, I'll help a lot of people. Did you ever see that interview I had where I came up for the first time with documenting, don't create? I really think people need to think about that. Just make. People overthink, they think they have, like, even when you structure it, like free stuff, you're making everything like shows or structuring it. Stop thinking, start making. Cool, get up here. Let me get this side. Yes, there. Hi. Love. Love. You grew up in Jersey?
Yeah.
Where? Where? Yeah, I know it. Amazing. I'm listening. I can multitask. Entrepreneur over here. Good for you.
But I want to know about two things actually. Versus TikTok,
Both.
got it, that's the answer. And two.
But know this, TikTok is a crazy place right now. In a great way. In a great way. I give the same advice my whole life. I am very basic. How many people here follow me on Instagram? Thank you. So you guys know, I love putting up videos 10 years ago, a little chubbier, younger version of me saying the same stuff I'm saying right now. So I'm saying that to people in the room that don't know me. What I'm about to say matters a lot. In the history of my career, the organic reach thing, that nobody knows who I am. I want to talk about Alabama football. Nobody knows who I am. I have 0 followers. MySpace, Twitter, Facebook, Social Cam, Vine, Snapchat, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, none. Not a single platform has even been remotely close to what's happening on TikTok when you post your third post and 800,000 people watch it. Now it's already, I don't know if you noticed this, it's already declining, because here comes the content. Because there's so much attention compared to content, but you would destroy it on TikTok. Yeah. If I were you, I would make 3 TikToks a day. The way I think you get to the question they had, which is like, what do we make? I think you look at what's on the Explore, like the trending page, and the biggest mistake people make is
Oh my God.
I'm motivated. Yeah, I'm motivated. I'm gonna do it. And they're like, they download TikTok, and they're like, now. 2 things. One, back to that crazy website, Google. It's crazy. It's an epic one. You know, what works on TikTok? Enter, read for 3 hours, but way more importantly, consume TikTok for 5 hours, and then make a decision. Don't call your 11-year-old niece and be like, what's this TikTok thing about? She's gonna tell you from an 11-year-old's perspective. You're here for business and building a product. You're coming from a different angle. Consume it. That will help you know what to make. What's that? Do you have a TikTok account yet? Love it. You're welcome.
I love attention. It's hard for me to talk to you because I mind it so much, right? Like I've done this a couple of times.
Thank you.
It's not like I'm freaking out. And I'm obsessed with that guy, right? So like, I got a shirt, I'm gonna help you, man. I'm obsessed with attention also. As I came into your content and how you're like a Pied Piper for, you don't have to be a jerk to win, and empathy and like the alpha guy that preaches, you know, kindness, and it's what I've been doing all my life, so I dove in 2 years ago. I'm like the butt of your old joke and like the hero story underneath me, right? Like, covered by parents, I have to completely unlearn that, like my man over there, you gotta unlearn it, you gotta like come home to 30, you gotta, you know, like I don't want to cuss because I know that you're.
Yeah, you will beat us up, yeah. He's tough.
And then restart again in Italy, right? That's.
And real quick, I apologize. Let's not demonize, like, none of us picked our spots. Like, I didn't pick, like, hey, I'm gonna be born in Russia. Like, let's definitely not over demonize people that had great fortune of being in a situation. They just have to decide what they want in their lives. Like, you know, we really need to deploy self-awareness. Not everybody's supposed to go on and be an alpha #1 and build something big. Like, there's a lot of ways to skin it, but nonetheless, I just wanted to add that because I didn't want that thing to get too far away. Keep going.
That being said, man, the big
Damn.
I realized that content is like memory on steroids.
Correct.
Correct. I put on content and put it out.
Yes.
I'm learning so much from you now, like reading Steve Jobs book, and I'm like, bro, I'm just learning from you, like it was an audiobook every day, all the time. You know, like
For free.
And then you release a library that's searchable.
Yes.
Right? So like I just want to, man, I want you to like talk about that searchable library.
Okay.
It's so valuable for you. Like, see that, how do you put that together? There's two people. People that can't be confident do it. I want them to do it. So it categorize them.
So, thank you. So, please, I do.
This is from the charter that I'm using last night.
I love it. Thank you, man. Thank you. I love you. So the search engine, we transcribed all my words into metadata from every single video I've ever put out in the history of my life, and then put it into a database and made it searchable. So the search engine on our website, I'm still not even promoting it. You know what's so fun about playing the long game? Like, it's, you know, you're hardcore enough in my content that you know it exists, because I promoted it for like 1 day. I don't even really know where it is. I think it's on my website. Like, I believe it's gonna be the biggest thing I believe, because the earlier thing I talked about, which was like the voice device. Yeah, of course, I heard it. You know, like, I'm so excited that I'm gonna have an Alexa skill in 10 years that's gonna allow you to be walking through the kitchen or the office and say, Alexa, I need to speak to Gary. And you're like, Gary, what should I do when a manager is doing this? And I'll actually reply because the data is instruction. That's gonna be rad. So that's why I did it. That's what I'm anticipating. That's what we're building. And I think a lot of people are gonna do that with audio information. I think we love speed. There's a lot of things you're doing now that you said you would never do because you like speed. Many of you here 10 years ago said you would never text. You now text. Many of you 5 years ago said that you would never use emojis. This is stupid. And now you send poop emojis. Right? The reason you do that is because of speed. The emoji is literally this is quicker than okay. All of you are going to use voice devices in your home and office because it's going to be faster. That's all. We choose convenience over everything. We don't care about privacy. Everybody loves talking about privacy. You guys love talking about privacy. What about privacy? What about it? You put your credit card all over the internet all day long. The IRS was completely hacked. Every single social security number in this room has been compromised.
Come on, duh.
What's
Fucking
happening?
idiots. Ben.
We don't care about privacy because it's fake.
Yep.
We love convenience. Sir. You look great. Pretty sharp, bro. Like that tie clip. Remember? Yep. Yep.
It's a huge market. It's hard everywhere. And so we're deploying capital like crazy, therefore we're raising capital like crazy. And I feel like when you're talking about trash net here, like you're not going to really cost me that. I don't feel like I can do that, but my question is that right now, you get successful business people, all that, and post on LinkedIn all the time, and being like, hey, it's going to take off, I want to invest. And so we're raising capital every time. We want to private money, throwing money into a big VC firm.
Hopefully never. VCs are bad. The second you do a deal with VC is the second you lose control.
Thank you. That's what I keep fucking saying, bro.
I what I said to a lot of people here. I think you've got enough juice going on right now that you're probably better off going to an extremely high net worth individual. I'd much rather you take $8 million from a guy or a gal that is either third generation wealthy or made it themselves and believe in you because they'll give you a lot more control.
Exactly.
That like Stanford and likes Excel sheets.
Exactly.
As much as they'll give you. Because at 12. You're trying to what? Break into the school district, got it.
The issue is that that's the LinkedIn or any type of social media, having to, I won't say do it, but I can't post or really, get into it publicly. Do my bosses or whatever, obviously, being, share information doesn't work. But it was really difficult to info.
Well, I mean, it's one thing if you put it on LinkedIn, like, I hate this job, I'm looking for a new one. No kidding, you wouldn't do that. You feel like it would be disproportionately frowned upon in your organization if you started talking about your passion about sports? What's that? What's her name? What about getting a different corporate job? I mean, here's the good news. That's what you have to do if you're telling me that the culture within the four walls, like every organization is different. Like my company has so many side hustles going on. I'm not even sure if people have their own secret VaynerMedias that compete with us going on, you know? Like, so I think you may need to find a different place to work. Like, if you were my sister, I'm like, hey, because this is, you know where I'm going. How many places have you applied? Are you so passionate and / unhappy? Are you willing to get a job that pays you even $5,000 less a year because you're gonna eat a little more crow, maybe, you know, to go like happiness over everything? But right now, if you're painting the picture you're painting, you have no answer unless you go somewhere else, because it sounds like Sarah and accounting is a real issue. Yes, you should do it anyways if you're prepared to get fired. Well, great. Well, then do, I mean, if you're prepared to get fired, do everything. Go punch her in the face. Start with that. Yes. Hi. Emily. I'm sorry, health coach?
So I see this trend right now where people are talking about social media fasting.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay. And also having that connection with people online.
Yes.
Because if you're reading about it, if your thoughts about how you have found out by putting out so much content and also trying to stay connected.
It's been super easy. For example, I'm the most public private person of all time. You guys know nothing about my personal life. I post a trillion pieces of content, but I put it in my professional world. People are like, yeah, I don't want to do that private. Like, you don't even know what my kids look like. I'm like, I know what your kids look like, and you're private, but you already posted 6 times on your bullshit Facebook. So, I found it very easy.
I guess when I'm coaching clients, you know, I always find that they find this artificial world is almost too much for them to.
This is, my point of view is that it's not the artificial world that's too much, it's the world period. They're incapable of judgment. So if they're appeasing people on Instagram, that's fine. They're appeasing people in real life too. That's why they're leasing Alexas that they can't afford, because they want people to think they're successful. People are fronting 24/7, 365 because they're insecure. And if you're insecure, getting off of Instagram is not going to help you. Why don't we take the conversation up a notch and talk about why you care about your neighbor's opinion or your mom's opinion? Why? So, interestingly, going, that's great. And honestly, I think it will be a huge trend. I think we're going to use technology so much more than now that there is the world always swings. I think there'll be incredible businesses. I think there'll be incredible businesses, detox centers where you go to the woods for 4 days. Like, I've actually been doing a lot of work lately. I've never been into buying real estate, but I've started the process of looking at major cities and seeing what the most rural 1-hour drive is and what the cost of the real estate is, because I feel like buying a bunch of trees an hour outside of like any major city that is literally has no cell service is like a good business in 10 years because people don't want it for 3 days or a week, that's great. But there's a much bigger issue at hand, which is, are you capable in dealing with other people's opinions? 99% are not. That is because of the last 30 to 50 years of parenting, DNA, other variables, and that is why I'm so passionate about the things I talk about. Because when you get quiet, and it comes in both forms, the biggest breakthrough I think I've said that I like, almost as a consumer of me, is if you can't hear the cheering, you can't hear your booing. Sure, for a lot of you that have no idea who I am or haven't seen me before, you've seen people come up today and give me some nice compliments of my impact. I don't hear that in the same way that I don't hear somebody saying I'm full of crap or snake oil salesman. I keep it not too high, not too low.
Yeah.
And that's helped me quite a bit. And I think the reason people struggle is you love Instagram when they say you look real pretty, but you hate it when they say you're ugly. You love it when they say that's fresh, but you hate it when you see somebody else having a fresh time when you're at home. People get too high and too low. And so we need to have conversations with ourselves. Limiting our time on TikTok's not gonna do it. Jim, one more because I saw it there. I didn't know you four were up there, but I love you so much. Let's go. What's your name?
I'm going to start a food truck, but I want to do it in a college town. So I'm wondering what you think, like, in terms of, like, budgeting and all of that, like, what could be the best since it could be catered to college and the best time to go?
I think you should go to campus and search Twitter and Instagram in that 10-mile radius and pay attention to what they like. Before you guess, I think you should figure out what the demand is.
Well, I'm from Texas, but I moved to Alabama, and like one thing that I was like always finding with meeting people is that like Tex-Mex is not a thing in Alabama, obviously it's not Tex-Mex.
Correct.
Mexican food in Alabama is nothing for everybody that's in Texas. People always say, yeah, when I was in Texas, I loved it.
So you're gonna break, I love that. So by the way, that's a great counter and something I love. Like the introduction of something that you know humans like in one place, as long as it's not so foreign and doesn't hit the palate, and I think that connection's a light up. So okay, so you figured out what you're gonna make.
Yes, I'm gonna do Tex-Mex. So my goal is to, in the next 3 to 5 years, from having a taco truck to having a restaurant.
Okay. I don't think it's smart or not smart. I think it's not smart to put yourself into a jail. You saying to yourself, I'm gonna do this in 3 to 5 years is gonna lead to anxiety. Do it in 12 months, do it in 12 years. Oh, by the way, it all depends on what the arbitrage is. You might realize after a year, wait a minute, why would I open a restaurant where the leases are too expensive? I wanna open up 9 more trucks. Stay fluid. Don't create the North Star. Here's what you focus on. Let me bring this Tex-Mex delicious food to these kids, and then let me react to what happens. If that leads to a location, great. If that leads to 13 more food trucks, great. If that leads to a big company coming in and trying to turn it into a national chain, or a product that's sold by a frozen food company, keep it open, because a lot of people at their young stage make these arbitrary decisions. 3 to 5 years when they do that, they actually stick to that, and then they don't see all the other opportunities because they're on this narrow thing that a lot of times ends up not being the right thing. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. This is funny, I didn't do it on this trip, but sometimes when I fly and I have to fill out custom forms, when it says occupation, I write firefighter. That's how I feel an entrepreneur is. You're always ready for another fire, whether it's 2 o'clock in the morning or 9:30, you have to be ready. And I don't struggle with that because I've been practicing it my whole life, which is why I fear when people try to become entrepreneurs because it's cool now. I'm worried about that because it's very hard. Every single day, I lose. And unless you're good at that, You will not like entrepreneurship. You got more perspective. Don't be happy. Don't you want to be happy? Brazil, how are you? Good. So I'm gonna do about 40 minutes up here. Then I'm gonna I asked them if we could do some Q&A, so we'll do some questions, and then we're gonna do a fireside chat. So first of all, I'm just very flattered to be here. Thank you for having me. For the people in this room that don't know who I am, I was born in the Soviet Union, came to America when I was a 3-year-old child. Very tough upbringing. We were very poor when we first came to America. I lived in a 1-studio apartment with 7 of my family members. My dad worked all the time. And so it was a very rough upbringing, not a lot of entitlement, didn't have a lot of stuff. My natural state was to be an entrepreneur. Even at 6, 7 years old, I was already shoveling snow, washing people's cars, selling juice and lemonade and candy. It was always to do a hustle. Somewhere along that time in New Jersey, sports cards became a very big thing in America.
So
baseball cards, American football cards, and I started collecting them. And by the time I was 13, 14 years old, I was making $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a weekend as a 13-year-old child, which you can imagine feels like you're a millionaire. Eventually, my dad worked very hard and saved all his money, and he bought a small liquor store in New Jersey. I was forced to work in that store, and that's really where I started my real career. I fell in love with the idea of knowing that a lot of people in America collected wine, and that was what kind of connected me to my family business. The part of the story that gets interesting for this room is what happens next. Knowing that there's a lot of entrepreneurs in here, knowing there's a lot of small businesses, a lot of small business agencies, what really enables me the great flattering nature to be in this room is the fact that my entire career was based on how do I build something with not a lot of money. We live in a world right now where a lot of people, and by show of hands, how many people in this room are entrepreneurs and have their own business? Raise your hands. Raise it high. Thank you. So if we can keep the lights on, that'd be amazing. I love that. So for me, what's interesting about all those hands that are up is I'm older. I'm 43, about to be 44 next week. And when I grew up, the idea of raising capital was extremely foreign. One of the most interesting things being an American businessman when I travel nationally, internationally, and other places in the world, is everybody is so caught up with raising money for their startup. This has become an entire generation of hands in the air that think about raising capital and appeasing venture capitalists and investors, not actually building a business and not having the focus there. And to me, this is very interesting because it's led to a lot of very different behavior. For me, everything was always about how do you make money, and that's what you invest back into your business, not how do you raise capital. When I started my current company, VaynerMedia, which is an advertising agency, I started it in the conference room of another company because I had no money and I wasn't going to raise money for the business. I was just going to find my first client, use those dollars, and just keep reinvesting. It took longer, but longer was its strength. I think one of the most important words for me to communicate in this talk today by far is patience. I promise you, no matter what you're doing in this room, and especially as I look around this room, first of all, everyone's uncomfortably attractive. And number two, but more importantly, this is quite a young audience. And I think the reality is, the thing that I spend most of my time on is trying to get people to understand that patience is a very important variable of success, and more importantly, that I believe the far majority of people in this room do not have a great relationship with time. I am fascinated by people in this room who are stressed at the ages of 18 and 22 and 25 and 29, like they're running out of time. How many people by show of hands are under 30 years old? So for me, as you can imagine, when I see those hands go up, you can put your hand down. Yeah, you're good, okay, good. When I see all those hands go up, and I know in my mind, with the way that modern medicine and technology is going, that the far majority of this room is gonna live for another 80 years, it really gets me excited / concerned when people want their business to be huge next year. The quicker you want it, the more vulnerable you are. The quicker you want it, the
Fucking
more
idiot.
vulnerable you are. And what has been very fascinating for me is even though on
Oh, what's up, Al the Money
maybe
Man
some of the places you
25?
guys
What's
see
up?
me,
What's up?
maybe my energy is high,
How are you?
maybe my style of communication is fast, but my business
I
actions
was
are
even
extremely
looking over
slow.
here.
And so what business actions
Oh
that
shit, I'm
business
so
slowness
sorry.
lead to is a couple things. One, the far majority of my career, I have no
Yeah,
money.
it,
So I
yeah,
had to always look for places where you could.
I
get
am
a
about to
lot
sell
more
a lot of my prints. I'm trying to decide on which platform to do it. I honestly wanted to sell through Facebook, but that's like a whole story.
And when I think about organic attention,
You know, me and Facebook kind of be fighting. So like, I'm trying to see if I'm gonna sell it on like Redbubble or just right off of my website.
in the analytics
Um,
and in the culture.
and it's just some other
conversation.
companies, but yes, I am getting to that. I definitely want to start selling the canvases, so that should be set up by the end of January. But it's taking me a minute, so.
Whether we're an employee, whether we have a huge company or haven't even started or are starting next year, the one requirement for all of us is to have somebody's attention. Before you can sell anything, you need somebody's attention. Then what you say in the written word, in audio, or in video becomes the variable if you are successful. The reason I follow attention is if there was nobody in here right now and I was giving this talk, I would have no potential
I did not know
to
who
achieve
you
what
are,
I want.
fam.
At the same token, with all of you in this room, what I talk about for the next hour and a half is the variable of my success. There are many of you here that don't know who I am. You'll leave with an opinion. There's many people who do know who I am, and you're either gonna like me more or like me less, completely predicated on the content that I put out. I spend my life in a very basic mind frame, and if you look at the politics of your country, my country, if you look at the businesses, it's all one very simple game. Do you understand where the people are and they're consuming? And do you understand how to do the written words, the audio, or the video to put in those platforms? This is how it's always been. Television, radio, print, outdoor billboards, it's always been the same game. Where is the attention, the eyes and the ears, and what is our capability to put content in it? Now here's where it gets different. This thing is fucking crazy. This thing is unbelievably underestimated. We in this room take this for granted. The power of a phone in today's world is remarkable. The fact that every one of us are sitting here with the internet in our hands right now is actually remarkable. For somebody like me at 43 years old, when I was 28, I could not leave the office or my home and have the internet in my hand. When I was 30, you have to understand how big of a deal that is. You have to understand how quickly this is all happening. Whether it's WhatsApp or YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or Twitter, the fact that these platforms sit on top of this device and they're accessible right now, the fact that there are tons of people right now with a phone recording this talk and then have the ability to post it. My friends, from Brazil to New York to London to Shanghai, the human race has not quantified how substantial this shift of the internet has become. And I tell you this, and I start my talk here today with this, because here's the real honest truth about how the game of life and definitely business is played. The quickest way to be happy in life, let alone business, is to be 100% accountable. The quickest way to be unhappy is to blame.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
really understood the last 5 to 7 minutes of what I just said, the fact that, how many people here have a cell phone? Raise your hands. Good. Every single person here fundamentally
That's not what I need.
is not allowed to have an excuse because of the power of what's in your hand. Of course there's family dynamics. Of course there's tragedies. Of course there's government involvement. Of course there's a million reasons. But the reality is we have never lived through a time where people at scale had so much opportunity. When I do the homework on the Brazilian market and I see the cost for a YouTube ad or an Instagram ad, and I see how low it is, when I see how much still unbelievable untapped potential on LinkedIn and TikTok and other platforms are for organic reach where you have to spend no money, none, and you can get awareness, the fact that podcasting is exploding in this country and the cost to start a podcast is to just record it on your phone and upload it. The thing that I've become unbelievably fascinated by is I know in this room, the single reason whatever is not happening for you is your ability to say no before you try. That to me is unbelievable. What's unbelievable to me is it's as simple as this. If you are capable of writing words, recording videos on your phone, or recording your thoughts in audio on your phone, your business can grow. Your idea can be flourished. Your personal brand as an influencer, your advertising shop trying to get more customers, whatever you want to be the governor, you want to be a YouTube celebrity, the reality is the cost is zero. The mindset is the tricky part. 90% of this audience does not post as often as they should on these platforms because they worry about the judgment of their family or strangers. This is a very, very, very fascinating dilemma in our society. There are people who are not posting. I mean, look, how many people here follow my content? Give me a sense, raise your hands. Thank you. So for the hands that went up, you know what you're going to get from me today. I'm very consistent. I'm sure you're in your head knowing every word I'm about to say as I start a sentence. I'm incapable of talking about something I don't believe in. You know, the nuances are different. Obviously, Twitter doesn't play in this country the same way it does in the US, right? TikTok's moving quicker in Asia and the US than it is in other places. LinkedIn's acting a little bit different here. WhatsApp has higher growth here than it does in the US. There's nuanced differences, but my friends, this is not about America or Brazil, this is about human beings. In America, in Brazil, in China, people worry about their parents' opinion. In America, in Brazil, in China, people care about strangers making fun of them in the comments. In America, in Brazil, in China, the opportunity to build your business or your personal brand has never been easier. People see more people doing it and they think they're too late. The real answer is 99% of the people in here do not have the patience and stomach to actually achieve it. They want it so fast. My friends, I did Wine Library TV on YouTube in 2007 to 2010. For 35 minutes a day, 5 days a week, I would stay up and work on Twitter for 4 or 5 hours looking for people who were talking about wine. And for 3 years every day, very little happened for me. Very little. People now start an Instagram account, post for 6 weeks, and give up because they're not getting enough followers. We've become remarkably impatient. We've become remarkably entitled. And so the reality is the following. Tactically, how many people here are B2B companies? They have an agency servicing clients or something. You're in a B2B business, raise your hands. For everybody that raised your hand, you must do one of two things consistently starting tomorrow. Number one, start a podcast in your industry. You must start a podcast, go on LinkedIn, go into your inbox and email 25, 50 people and ask them to be guests on your show. And number two, you must attack LinkedIn more. I think people very much underestimate how much is happening there in this market. I think the homework is there. People don't see it because not that many people are doing it, which is the reason it's most interesting. When I speak at these events, people always fall into two groups. Number one, they don't want to do it because it's new and they want to see other people do it before they do it. Or number two, other people are doing it so they think they're too late, so they don't want to do it. People are split up in two places of not doing. We live in a world where everybody has a reason for no. I can't do it because of this. I don't have the money. I don't have the team. My industry doesn't want to do it. I can't. The fundamental difference in the game today is the people that say yes blindly versus the people that say no blindly. The only unique leverage you have in this room is you yourself. There's so much information now. You're not coming up with any new idea. There's nothing I say that is a new idea. People have been around too long. I'm not the first person to talk about kindness or gratitude or empathy or hard work or context. I'm really not. I'm just doing it my way. In the way, my perspective, my words on my platform. And for me, this is the real conversation today. To me, is today going to be the conference? Is today going to be the time that you finally understand that it is time to put it out? It is time to tell your story at scale, contextually, across all platforms. Recognizing that a lot of people did not raise their hand, and this may be the first time that a lot of you are seeing me, I'm just going to take one more step back. I believe that what the internet is doing is eliminating the middle. It's eliminating the middle, the distribution. When you look at Uber or Amazon, or if you look at Netflix, what it's really doing is separating out the middle, and it's leaving it to one of two places: the product, the story, the service, and your ability to tell that story. I believe this is very important because this is not even for the youngsters in this room. This is not the world we necessarily grew up with. A world where the entire middle of distribution has been commoditized because the internet has become the middle, and the focus on not just the quality of the product, but more importantly, the deep focus on the ability to communicate has never become greater. The ability to be a communicator in 2020 has now become disproportionately more powerful than even the quality of your product. And that may be confusing, and it's a very interesting debate, but the reality is a product is a subjective product. One more time, B2B who does services, raise it high. I just want to get a sense. Higher. All of you that just raised your hands, you know what I know. Sometimes you think the product's great, but your client thinks it's shit. Other times, you kind of know that the product is shitty, but the client thinks it's great. The work is subjective, based on the queen or the king on the other side who gets to decide. Your ability to be a phenomenal communicator, how many people see it, where and how, is less subjective. The content in it is subjective, but the results are there through the leads, through the results that come through it. I believe today that if you're in the business world, that the ability to be a communicator, a content producer at the height of the scale of your product has become more important than any other variable. I would rather be great at YouTube and podcasting and LinkedIn and Instagram than be great at balancing my checkbook. That I can hire an accountant for. This skill is emerging and accelerating at scale. So here's how this game breaks down for me. One, I think everybody here has to take a step back and figure out what kind of communicator are they. Individually, even if you sit here today and do not believe it is your job within your organization to communicate, eventually, especially at the age level that everybody here is, eventually this skill set will become important to you. Whether it's now, later in your career, within your family dynamics, and definitely over the next 20, 30, 40 years as communication rises in importance, not declines. Thus, my great ask, my great ambition to fly down here, 3 flights to get here, and flying right back home, the reason for me to be here is very focused on the notion of, can I get 5 people, there's a lot of people here, can I get 5 people in here to start tomorrow or Monday, if you want to take the weekend off, to start making content. The world is very simple. The world is breaking into a very simple game. Ideas and making. Do you have ideas? Can you make them? But it requires an incredible sense of self-awareness. I'm very passionate for many people in this room who are introverted and who would be scared to give this speech, or who feel uncomfortable in front of a camera, to understand that if you are a remarkable writer, there's an incredible world for you. For those who are scared to be in front of the camera because they're scared of how they look or they're just uncomfortable, that recording your ideas for what you're about in audio is an incredible time to be alive, and there's an incredible world to you. As a matter of fact, even more interesting to me, if you're somebody that likes to doodle, to draw, some of the most exciting things that I'm seeing in my content is when we're doing cartoons on LinkedIn and Instagram. That might be the way that you communicate. When you figure out how you communicate, written word, audio, video, the next part is definitely the most challenging. If you ask me why over the last 10 years I've been given the great fortune to be here, it's very simple. I spend almost all of my time and all of my content trying to bring value with no expectation in return. If you look at the content that most people and companies and organizations put out, if you look at it carefully and you dissect it, it is wildly selfish. It is either a commercial in itself, or its main objective is to get you to fill out your email, your phone number, your information, so that I can sell to you instead of bring you value to build a brand. I wrote a book several years ago called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And the reason I wrote it was because I was watching people on social media really struggle with the idea of bringing value. And I wanted to give them a scenario of understanding that if you're trying to sell and throw a right hook all the time, eventually the other person knows how to duck. Everybody, how many people here have done email marketing in their life? Raise your hands. Great. So for everybody, just raise your hands. I was doing email marketing in 1997, 1998, and I had 90% open rates on my email. Today, if you're in the 30s, you're a hero. It means you have a tremendous list and you're doing a great job. The reason those lists have gone from 90 to 30 is because I'm sure everybody here knows where I'm going. We've ruined email because we're spamming and selling on it at all times. That's what happens to every platform. That's exactly what we're doing on social media now. The reason social media is subtly declining, and the reason the algorithms always have to change, is people do not have the discipline to not self-promote. People do not have the discipline to not try to sell on every post. The other problem is when people try to pretend they're giving value in disguise underneath, they're actually trying to sell. My friends, what's scary about the way I go about business and what I believe I see with the businesses that are most winning in the world is it's super basic. Just nobody wants to do it. It'd almost be like if I was standing up here talking about health and wellness. My friends, if you want to get into better shape, here's how you do it. Stop eating shit and work out every day. Thank you very much, see you later, Brazil. That would be the whole talk. That is no different than how I see business today. Obviously, you have to have a product and service, but the reality is very simply, the formula is as basic as it is in fitness. If you are not producing content, and when I say content, just to put this into context for everybody, next week is my birthday. I've had my team work for the last month. We've made a deck, a couple hundred pages deck. We're gonna give it away for free. It shows you how to make 60-something pieces of content in a day. The reality is the requirement of how much content that I'm looking for you to produce to achieve what, about numbers that look like 30, 40, 50, 60 pieces of content a day. Most of the businesses and people in here are putting out one piece of content a day on a good day. Maybe 3 a week. If you're a personal brand, you're killing it and posting 4 things a day. There is nobody that is achieving the volume. If you want to write down one word and stick it in your mirror for this whole talk, the word is volume. This is a volume warfare. When people hear volume, they hear quantity. When they hear quantity, they don't think that you can make quality. They think it's a friction between quantity and quality. I believe that the world has grossly overvalued production quality and made that quality not the story or the context of the message. And so as we have spent the last 30 to 50 years putting production value on a pedestal as quality, we have put ourselves in a position to not value context and the actual story. And in that is the rub and the opportunity. The sheer size of this country, the sheer amount of spend, even in the separation of wealth, the uncanny amount of attention on YouTube and Instagram in this country leads this to be one of the most interesting places in the world to be a marketer. To be a marketer, to be an influencer, to be a startup. However, when I spent, because I gave a speech in St. Paulo a couple of weeks ago, so about 3 months ago, I started really doing homework on what's the sentiment? What are people saying in the comments? What's the vibe? What's remarkable in such a progressive and incredible country is how much similarities there are, believe it or not, with the US, which is, with all that in place, there is still so much cynicism and pessimism to actually achieve it. That is not a government issue with your new president or ours. That is not a problem that you don't have Silicon Valley. That is a problem that people would rather complain than put in the fucking work. That is a human problem. That is a global human problem. If this was 1957 and it was my grandfather and all of your grandparents, I would have some empathy because it took real money to actually do what I'm saying. But in 2019, with this, I struggle to deploy empathy for you not doing, which is what led me to not making this a game about your wallet. Many people think business is a game of this. Business is not a game of this. Business right now is a game of this. This has come down to the simple, deep warfare in one's head. What is stopping people from actually making content? And I believe that it comes down to one simple word: judgment. I believe that judgment is crippling our society. I am fascinated and grateful like you would not imagine, for my mother building self-esteem in me without creating entitlement. My self-esteem allows, when I leave here in a couple of hours and I read the comments and I control copy it and translate it from Portuguese to English, where one of you say that I'm an asshole, I'm okay. I want to give the next talk. I want to make the next piece of content. My ability to deal with losing, pushback, negativity, no, is my strength. My entire model of content production, my entire thesis for this talk only has one major flaw, in that people are insecure. I spend my life putting out content 50, 70, 80 pieces a day with the great hope to eliminate that insecurity, to challenge you and ask you, what judgment? Why? Why are you willing to live a life that ultimately ends with regret and resentment? Because everybody who's 90 and 100 years old talks about the things they wish they did, not the things they did. And so for me, Brazil, very simply, I'm trying to challenge this room to understand the simplicity of the framework and the massive difficulty in the head, and really lead to a couple tactics. For example, tactic number one of the biggest things that I have seen work in people starting the process to produce content is to make a single video and tell the world their secret that they've been holding on to. If you really think about what's stopping people, it's the darkness and shadows inside of them. By putting it out and taking control of your secret, your dyslexia, your terrible issue as a child, your relationship with X, your drinking problem, whatever it might be, by you taking control of it, by putting it out, no longer does anybody else have leverage to expose it. It is a freedom play. And I highly, and listen, if you really want to know, forget about the 5 people that post tomorrow. If I can get one person in here to leave this conference tonight and make a video and tell the world the truth that they've been holding on to, this will be mission fucking accomplished. Thank you, Dad. I want to go into questions in about 5 or 10 minutes, so let me see where the mics are, but I'm going to line them up here and we'll figure that out. But before I do, I want to spend a few more minutes on audio. For a lot of people here, they missed YouTube, they missed Instagram. I believe there's 2 places where you have a chance over the next couple of years to not miss it. Number 1, you have to watch TikTok very carefully. If TikTok takes off seriously in this market, there will be an enormous amount of opportunity because the global penetration in Asia, the US, Europe is exploding. What's so amazing to live in a country of this size and this much opportunity, and you guys know this, is you can see these platforms exploding somewhere else, and you can get a head start and play it here. Outside of Orchid, which became the player here, every other platform eventually makes its way here and became the dominant player. Please do not underestimate what is happening on TikTok globally and where the potential sits in this market. You should absolutely, if you're at this conference, if you're smart enough to be at this conference, you should be smart enough to go home and execute around the thesis, around the opportunities, around the knowledge. 1 is TikTok, number 2 is voice. We are becoming much more of an audio consumption world. By show of hands, how many people here now listen to a podcast? Raise your hands. Raise it high. I want everybody to look around. Look at this. Put it down for a second. Those same people, how many of you were listening to a podcast 5 years ago? Raise your hand. Look around. Look at that growth.
Wow.
Look at that growth.
Damn.
How many people here now, when they watch YouTube videos, sometimes just put the phone down and listen to it and don't even watch the video? Raise your hands. Look at this. Look at this. D-Rock spends all this time making it look pretty. You fuckers just
Exactly. That's why we had to move around, motherfucker.
Audio is
You know what I'm saying?
becoming usage because we're busy
The
and we
fuck?
do things at once.
What I
Three things
bro.
at once. 4 things at once.
Audio.
One of the biggest opportunities in this room
They
is
gonna listen to the
understanding how
audio.
it is and producing audio content. Everybody wants to be a marketer.
You good, baby?
But most people in this room are sales.
I'm sorry, I woke you
It's
up.
why
I'm
they
sorry.
like Google. Google's easy. It's intent. Somebody types something in, you know they want it, so you buy the ads and you convert. That's sales. I'm here to talk about branding and marketing. You know, the way real things are built.
Mm-hmm.
The way the biggest companies in the world are built.
Come on now.
The biggest personalities, celebrities, brands, they're built through branding and marketing, not sales. Audio is no question the fastest growing opportunity to build brand that most people are not doing. Please be the person in this room that goes back and actually starts a podcast. Please be the person here who actually starts recording their thoughts and just posting the video. I mean, you could literally take your phone, hit memo, record, put the phone down, it's just a black screen, and you can post a black screen with your words. You can, most of you won't, because you don't think that's quality. This subjective point of view around quality is stopping the world from making. We must flip that on its head. Please be the person in this room that leaves here and starts making. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I left a lot of time for Q&A because I really, the theory is very simple. The details of the questions matter. So who's got the mics? You got the mics? So you got to run around. Who's got a question? Raise your hands. Here. Okay.
I love you. Actually, my whole family loves you.
Thank you.
I just came from Canada, so I am an immigrant in Canada. I didn't. And my son listens to your podcast every day. He's 9 years old. My daughter also.
Sorry about the cursing.
Yeah, 11 years old. So I asked him, what do you want to say to Gary? He said, say to him that I love him. And he's awesome. And I'm sorry, and you are so fun. I really love you. Thank you for that. And my heart is shaking because as an immigrant, as you know, I'm in Canada for 13 years now. And I suffer a lot. It was terrible, even for my children that was born there. And even for them, just to eat Brazilian food at school was very scary. And my daughter was bullied because of that. So my question is, what can I, as a mom, do for my kids?
Sure. So you're welcome. Thank you for being here.
Can I get a photo, please?
Yes, you can have a photo. So I think business and parenting have a lot of similarities. So when I hear those kind of stories, and I'm sure, how many people here are parents? Raise your hands. So for all the hands that just went up, you know how challenging it is. Like, you can have common sense everywhere else, but when it's your kids, it's hard to maintain it. But I believe that self-esteem is the ultimate cure to everything. And I think most parents go on defense when their kids are hurting instead of offense. So when their kids are bullied, they want to go fight the school. They want to go fight the parent of the kid. It's defense. For me, as somebody who was bullied, because I was a Soviet immigrant in America in my childhood when the Soviet Union was the enemy. There was plenty of shit. I mean, if you can zoom in, I got goosebumps. It was a very challenging time. But what my mom did was she went insular. It was offense. It was me and her in my own head, hearing nothing else. By the time I was in high school, I couldn't hear anybody else. It didn't matter. By the way, both pro and con. So for me, I think the thing you can do is beat into their head about them, not about the people in Montreal or Toronto or Canada. It's not about them. It's about yourself inside your own head, your own self-worth. And you have to pound it. A lot of parents, you're like, oh, it's easy to say, but when their kids are, you're right. But it's no different than working out and eating healthy. It's no different than make content and put on all the platforms. The answer's simple. Pound it into your kid's head, their own self-worth, not the opinions of others. They'll be a happy person their whole life. The problem is most parents aren't acting that way. So it's hard for them to give advice that they don't even feel themselves. But that is the answer. You're welcome. Questions? Yep.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How are you?
Fine, you?
Very good.
Been following you for many years, and so happy to participate with you.
Thank you.
I'm kind of member, so.
Don't worry.
Okay. So I came all the way from a extremely little town in San Juan, in Argentina, called San Juan. So I've been for a couple months or maybe years trying to figure out if I have to leave my small town or just stay right there, be patient, and wait for my business to be like big.
What kind of business is it?
Okay, digital agency. Yeah. So my question is like, would you imagine yourself as a businessman as the size as you are right now, staying in New Jersey, for example, or a small town?
I understand. So the question for you and everybody here is, what's big? Right? Because this is where people get caught. It's so simple being in a small town in Argentina, thinking you have to go to Sao Paulo, or you have to go to Buenos Aires, or you have to go to New York City. It's easy. It's easy. You're like, that's a much bigger place to go. The question is, it comes down to what makes you happy. For me, what makes me happy is to play the game. Not the money, not how big or small. I just want to play. I've always wanted to play. I've watched so many people have a $1 million business in a small town in America or the world, move to a bigger place, do $5 million, and be very unhappy. They were very happy at $1 million in their small town. They went to a bigger town, they do $10 million, and they're very unhappy. My friend, Brazil, it is time that we in the world start making happiness what we go after, not more money.
Thank you.
We have to. We have to. Right? For me, when I hear bigger, I want you to have a bigger fucking smile on your pretty face, not make $280,000 more in fucking net revenue. You understand? You have to decide that for yourself. I don't know you. You have to decide that for yourself.
Hey Gary,
How are you?
I'm good. I'm so good. I'm following you for almost 3 years, and I just want to say thank you for all of your content. You really changed my life, and with me in the world to have a picture with you. Can I?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. Right now?
Right now.
Right now? Oh, thank you.
Give the mic back. How are you? You're welcome. All right, get out of here. Let's go. Who's next? Hi.
First of all, I'm a huge fan.
Thank you.
You've taught me a lot about gratitude and gratitude and happiness. I'm so nervous.
Don't be.
So, me and my sister, we're starting a B2B company, and we're trying to sell training and consulting for HR teams and leader teams.
Okay.
And I know we are not putting as many content as we should out there.
Why? Why do you think? Talk to me real. We're here. Why?
Well, she lives in another town, so
Okay.
it's a little difficult for us to.
Well, you don't have to be in the content.
Yeah, no. But she needs a lot of help, for me, because I know how to do things and how to film videos, and I'm teaching her.
Okay.
And she doesn't have a lot of confidence. She's really good.
She knows her craft.
Yeah.
So what about writing, or what about audio? I feel like so many people that don't have confidence are very scared of the camera, but can do much, much better writing or recording audio.
Yeah.
This is why I spent so much time on it in my talk. I don't want people to be like me. Listen, not everybody is ridiculously handsome and charismatic. You know what I mean though? I don't want people to be like me. I want people to be like me where they found their voice in their medium. But for a lot of you in this room, that's writing. You know, if you're more introverted or insecure, a lot of writers come from that framework. Or I really like audio, so keep that in mind. But keep going.
And she's doing cold calls,
Okay.
trying to reach companies in her region. But I'm just guessing, what else can we do besides content that I know she would be doing to get our first clients? Just
Do it for free.
Yeah.
The biggest mistake small companies make is they don't work for free. And then, you know, now that I said this on the internet, so many people are gonna leave comments and say that I'm an idiot and they hate me and nobody should work for free and blah, blah, blah. That's fine. But those are said by people that have never started a company with no customers.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And so, I did it. And I already built a big business, but I went into a new world where people thought what I did for the liquor store was not gonna work. So I worked for free. I still do it if I think it's the right strategy. So I think the biggest thing you should do is work for free because it gives you the referral base. And by the way, when nobody's hiring you, that means your work is worth free.
Can I have something?
You can.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's next? How are you?
Tudo bem?
Go ahead, I can listen.
Gary, eu e a minha esposa hoje temos um negócio rentável, que aprendemos com você, então gratidão tremenda. A pergunta que eu gostaria de fazer é a seguinte, talvez isso seja a realidade de muitos aqui, quando a gente está num contexto, numa cidade, onde muitos não pensam como nós, não vê as coisas como nós, que a gente vê, por exemplo, que a gente aprende com você. Eles precisam disso, eles querem isso, só que eles têm pressa. E isso demanda tempo. O que a gente pode fazer para ajudar esses negócios?
Don't try to convince anybody. The number one mistake when you're selling something new that most people don't understand is people spend too much time trying to convince them instead of finding the person that already understands. People make it a noble mission instead of a business. My friend, I've been right and early for the last 20 years of my life. I have spent almost no time trying to convince anybody. I sometimes have a 1-hour meeting with a company, fly from New York to Chicago, walk in, sit down, start the presentation, and end it after 10 minutes because I already know it's over. Every minute that you spend trying to convince somebody who's already no is a minute that you're not spending trying to find somebody that will say yes.
Ou seja, tentar ajudar quem está disposto a se desenvolver.
Of course, because when you're selling something new, they can't see it or they don't have reports in their company to justify it. Got it? So if they don't have the report to justify your work, they're scared. They might agree with you, but the machine that they work in won't allow them to say yes. So you just move on. You're welcome. Sign it. Okay, next.
Hey Gary.
How are you?
First of all, you're awesome. My name is Luca and I watch your content since I'm 19, now I'm 22, so thank you for being part of that.
Thank you.
I want to ask you something that I believe is really important. You are the first guy to talk about making content, making really quality content, but I'm afraid that the internet still is a place with very anxiety. I mean, Instagram causes a lot of anxiety.
Instagram doesn't cause anything. People are anxious.
Yes,
but this is important. Instagram. There's a platform. We post pictures, and humans decide to see somebody having a nice time, and they decide to be upset. It's important though. Keep going.
Yeah, and my question is, how can we all, as here at this event, can help these platforms, all platforms be mindful, be better to
by putting out real shit. If everybody here didn't only put out photos when they're most dressed up, going to the most fancy place, and showing everybody how fucking amazing their life is, the world would be in a better place.
Thank you.
Not super complicated. T-Rock and I are gonna end this talk. I'm about to do in 5 minutes the fireside chat. We're gonna do a book signing. We're gonna run to the airport. We're gonna take a private plane because I have to get to say hello because I want to get home for family early tomorrow morning. There will be no picture of me at a private plane. I'm not gonna show that I'm fancy. That's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about gratitude and kindness and empathy. We're in control. There's no fucking Instagram monster. There's no YouTube monster. We're the monster. Okay.
Yeah, so when producing content, language matters.
Yes.
And we're in a country that doesn't speak English.
Yes.
So said that, how can we break the language barrier to go global?
Well, you're not going to get Portuguese to go global.
Yes. I mean, what's the best way to go in English and Portuguese, bilingual?
Do it both.
But just in one profile, but two profiles, or
you can do two profiles. I'm a big fan of sometimes doing video that is both in Portuguese and in English. I also want to remind you that this is a humongous fucking country and winning here is just fine too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean it. If you want to win globally and you're so desperate to, then you're more than welcome to make English.
Yeah, because currency matters. I mean, real is like 1 and dollar is like 4, so it's a big opportunity.
I understand that. I think it all comes back to the gentleman from Argentina. You have to decide what's right for you. If you want global, if you're chasing more dollars, then make English content.
Okay, so.
But it's very important I say this. I think this is, every country outside of China and the US has an inferior complex because there's more money elsewhere. This is a huge fucking country.
Okay.
Like huge.
So folks in Brazil.
If that's what you want to, but if, you know, I can promise you, just focusing in Brazil with just Portuguese content can make you plenty of money and happiness. If you personally want to be on a bigger stage, English is something you have to consider.
Okay, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Gary, good evening.
Good evening.
First of all, you have to do that. You have to be able to.
Yes, again, good exposure.
Well.
That means I love you in Russian.
Yeah. So let's give you a very quick context because I want to respect everyone's time. When I was 4 years old, my mom stabbed me for eating all my cucumbers.
Stabbed you?
My hand, yes.
Okay.
When I was 6, she smashed my face against the wall until I bled from my nose and teeth. Just because I was late 1 hour. Then she threw me in the graveyard when it was late at night. And honestly, all my life was fear and sadness and sorrow. And so when I was 20 years old, I said, either I kill myself or I go. So I decided I go. And I left my mom. And a few years later, I became an entrepreneur. And I'm not the most successful one, but I've done pretty good for myself. I'm quite happy.
Good.
And but
you know, there's a story that resonates with me. It's something I share very infrequently, but my grandmother, who passed away this year, maybe that's why I'm a little bit more comfortable sharing it, she was very difficult to my father too in Soviet Russia, so I have a lot of empathy for that story. And I also know, and I know you know this because I see you raising a doll with my face on it, so obviously you're following. I believe that adversity in youth is a very powerful advantage if you're able to get out of it. If you're lucky enough to be born with a natural mindset or consume something that helps you get out of it.
100%. So I came a long way, but I did become an entrepreneur out of vengeance and wanting to get even with my mom, my dad, my everyone. And I knew how unhealthy it was. And then came along this American Russian who speaks way too much and curses even more. And somehow, I don't know how, I really don't know, but you changed me. Today I work for happiness. I work for helping other people rather than closing the most deals. And I came here to practice what you preach, which is jab, 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 right hook. So let's start with the jabs, please. Then we go to the right hook. Please. Thank you. First of all, Gary Vaynerchuk. I'd like you to meet Gary Vaynerchuk. Also, I'd like you to meet Sasha Vaynerchuk.
Very nice.
And to make it devastating, Tamara Vaynerchuk.
Very nice. My two favorite people on earth.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now I know you're a private man, so I'll make it in Russian. If you want, I'll do it for free. I'll do ваши дети и ваша жена 100% бесплатно. We just have your.
You send me an email to Gary at VaynerMedia, and we'll get hooked up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, thank you. Now here's my right hook, and regardless of what you say yes or no, what I said earlier, I'll deliver. I desperately need 20 minutes space time with you whenever you want, wherever you want, please.
Okay, two things. One, jab, 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 right hook. Give, and then ask. It's unbelievably important to me that people understand that when you give with something behind it, it's not giving. So the execution of that for the 20 minutes is not how I see the world. However, I just want to make sure everybody understands that. However, even with that said, and usually it's not my favorite move when somebody gives me something I didn't ask for and then needs something from me, which is the most valuable thing from me, my actual time. Even though I don't love that, I just love you.
Thank you.
And so I will give you the 20 minutes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Email me, we'll get to that. It's Gary at
Here.
I'm gonna get one more in, and then I'm gonna call up the CEO. We're gonna have this fireside chat.
Last one,
Yes.
please.
Hi, you got it.
I love you.
I love you back.
Okay, thank you. We own a cannabis growing site for cannabis.
Yeah.
For 17 years, we're spreading content, jab all the time. And now the market is opening for the big companies coming from the United States. As you know, we can't have sponsored ads on Facebook or Instagram. So,
Damn.
use any advice.
Influencers, because that's the most scalable thing.
Jeez.
So
It's the whole problem with these groups.
Sometimes it stays up, sometimes it doesn't. But my number one thing, you know, I do a lot in the US with cannabis and my Green Street company, you have to start a podcast. You have to control the media. Podcast and even text messaging. Starting to ask people for their cell phone numbers and putting our content directly to them.
And we work very hard on chatbot also.
100%. But even the chatbot, if it's within WhatsApp, if it's in WhatsApp, you're going to be vulnerable. You want to go direct phone numbers, and you want to start a podcast company because there's no platform in the middle that's in control of you. Right?
Thank you very much. It's an honor.
Thank you. All right, let's do the fireside chat. Thank you, everyone.
Gary, this is very good shit. So we're gonna do a couple more. It's all of that. So I can
Great.
my introduction.
I'm happy to do it.
Yeah.
All right.
Be right here.
Who's got the mics? No problem. I just don't know where the mics are. Who's got the mics? Go ahead. Yep. She's got it. Yep, that's fine. And then let's go into the way fucking back. I want to get some of those peeps.
Hello, Gary. My name is Thiago. Me and my girlfriend, we drove 380 miles just to see you and meet you.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you for everything you did. I brought Russia with me.
Thank you.
This book changed my life. I work as a doctor, but I happen to be passionate about technology. So I started my YouTube channel following your advice, my own blog, last year, 1.5 years ago. And it started to grow exponentially. You told me about voice. I made Alexa content, it blew up. My girlfriend was unhappy at her job, and I said, read this book. And then she kept on complaining about her job, and I said, quit! You don't care, it says quit. And she quit her job, and now she started her own slow fashion business. She's happy as she ever been. And we want to thank you so much and ask if you could sign my book and take a picture with us, please. 100%. Thank you, 100%. Come on. Who's got the mic? Right up there? Go ahead. Get her attention. She's got the mic. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's no one that's looking for the people on the sides. No, just I think it's really important to talk about business that is really unique in Brazil. That is schools, teaching, of course. And I'm the first person here that actually didn't know you before RB Summit.
No problem.
I wasn't a big fan of you. I am now, and you're a really smart person. I just wanted your opinion on how you think that teaching is gonna grow in these platforms like YouTube, internet in general. Do you think that actually we're gonna have a boom, let's say, teaching is gonna explode on the internet? Do you think that's a market in the future?
I do, and I think it's already happened. You know, I think you and I have grown up in the last 100 years of modern teaching where education is being done through schools and leveling up until final university and then going into the world. I believe that education is already happening. If you just think about what that doctor, was just saying, literally the question before, he watched my content in education form, it educated him to the possibilities, and then he went and executed it. I think to your point, and you can add, we can talk back and forth, I think people that are educators in the current system are gonna have to be very thoughtful that are they passionate about being a teacher in the current system, or are they passionate about educating in the macro?
Yeah, that's actually the point I was trying to get. Like, yeah, I know there's a lot of people already teaching other people on the internet. The thing I was thinking is that my idea of future, the thing I want to do in the future is teaching people online specific languages. But
you can do that now.
Yeah, I know, but my question is, do you think teaching is gonna go entirely to the internet? Do you think?
I think society is gonna go predominantly to the internet. We'll still live in real life, but there's a very significant chance in 30, 40, 50 years that all of us are living in virtual reality and are spending a lot of time in that world, no different than the 11 hours we spend inside our phone now. Yes, I do.
Like Ready Player One, the movie.
Yeah, listen, I think people in this room, including me, are very naive of where technology is going. Already we can see blockchain, VR, AR. There's so many more inventions that will be invented before we die. Technology always moves. Technology always moves. So yes, I think so. Thank you. Okay. Who's got the next question? I need the next.
Oi.
Got you.
Ok? Tudo jóia, Gary?
How are you?
Cara, sou teu fã pra caramba. Vim de longe, vim de Recife. E o que eu queria falar é o seguinte. Primeiramente, eu tenho uma história que é bem interessante, que a empresa cresceu bastante, uma agência, mas eu resolvi jogar tudo pro ar para gerar conteúdo na internet, muito por conta de você. E hoje eu faço isso todos os dias da minha vida, tenho esse compromisso. Mas tem um vídeo teu que me deixou muito impactado, que foi quando se perguntou...
Oh, we gotta fucking learn.
Isso aí
increase our Spanish.
E eu queria que você comentasse sobre isso.
Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, brother, my biggest hope for everybody is to not have regret. Besides health, which you need, I want people to have happiness, and as much happiness and as little regret. And you're such a young man. We have so much time. We have so much time. I just wish that people had a better relationship with time. There's so much more time. And so I'm glad that that hit you, because it's very real. Everything I do, everything, is knowing that it's almost impossible to be a human being. 400 trillion to 1. That is the math. The odds of being somebody in here right now is 400 trillion to 1. It's impossible to be a human being. And yet, everybody here is one, and I don't want you to waste it. Why?
Foi o cara, mano. Foi aí.
Thank you.
We can do the last one. Yeah. Hi. All right.
Earlier, you gave us advice for producing content, and I asked today for Roberto Prado from Microsoft, what rituals do you have every day that changes your life? And then what
rituals?
Rituals, yes. That you do every day and it changes your life.
Every day, every day at some point, I imagine my children or my parents or my siblings, somebody in my family dying. Every day. And that makes me happy. And I know that that might be confusing, but every day I practice reminding myself what is actually important to me. And if today I went to Brazil and gave a great speech and many people found out about me, and when I got back to my phone in an hour, one of my clients gave us $5 million more for VaynerMedia, and one of my videos went viral on Instagram and got 5 million views, and maybe even this Sunday the Jets win a fucking football game, right? If all that happened, if God forbid, one of the 20 people that I love the most got sick or died, I would not give a shit. My only ritual every day is to make pretend somebody that I love died, which makes the rest of my day very easy.
Amazing, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. Dude, I'm in a very tough spot here. I'm cutting this great conversation short, yeah. I'm also between you and your flight and between them and the party with free beer. So,
free beer is fun.
So unfortunately, guys, this conference is coming to an end. Did you like it? Yeah. So my only mission here is trying to wrap up this conversation with some of the important things that we discussed here. I think we all agree that we had amazing 3 days, the last 3 days. Those are my questions.
The reason I win often is because I'm not worried about the person in the middle. What I know is that you're sitting on some really fun information. Can you share anything about like what's been selling during this?
Yes, and I'm gonna do a clip.
You got more perspective.
So we've got our last guest for today, Dina Barley. Dina serves as StockX CMO, a Detroit-based online resale marketplace. Dina has demonstrated a history of building beloved consumer brands, having served as a CMO for 3 other companies, including Birchbox. We're super excited to have you, Dina.
Hey, how are you?
Hello, great to see you all. Just last year, all together on our happy hour.
Yes, that's right. Well, let's get right into the thing I'm actually curious about. You've got a really epic background background? What's on those shelves? Anything interesting? Anything,
Oh my gosh.
Anything I can click on eBay?
I cannot believe how much are these bookshelves get. The big joke is this was actually meant to be my husband. We moved to Detroit when I accepted this job, right? So we're 6 months, 7 months into living in Michigan, moved from California, and we set up this office because my husband runs his own business and works from home, and it took me about 4 weeks to take over the office and the there's everything in there from, philosophy and yoga books to, there's a book called Habit Porn right behind me, and then all kinds of fiction from all stages of our lives. But this is the ultimate conversation piece right here.
How do you consider yourself, how do you view yourself as a leader? Since that's kind of the ethos of this, and like all of us, we've all evolved and gotten better. What has been the biggest thing that you closed the gap on in your career that you're just like happy? Like, wow, I'm really glad I got better at this because had I not, I don't think I could be the leader I am today.
Yeah. Well, I think there's 2 things, and one of them, I echo what Lockie said just a little while ago, the idea of being a thinker that can combine left and right parts of the brain. I think in marketing in particular, that is a very valuable skill and hard to find. So I think that is something that I would say describes my style, holistic thinker, and somebody who likes to synthesize and integrate. And then I think the other thing is just being empathetic, being a very holistic person in the sense of look,
I think you're back.
I'm back. Great. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay. So I'll just backtrack a little bit. The idea, I was talking about the idea of left and right brain, thinking coming together, being an integrated thinker, and then being somebody who really appreciates and values the whole self being brought to work. And I show up that way, I want my team to show up that way, and I think as leaders today, especially in this climate, it's so critically important, and showing your team that that's what you believe in, that's what you support from them, helps to bring out the best, the most creativity, the best results, and the most present and committed work.
What has really been the biggest observation you've had about being a leader during COVID? Because obviously some of us are fortunate. It's funny how I just said that. It's a little bit of a slip. I was going to say fortunate enough to navigate through the Great Recession or 9/11, things of that nature. Those are not fortunate things, but I definitely felt that we were in a 10-year window where a lot of people were already at 32 years old in their career and had never been through anything but hyper growth. And I was like, man, one day this is going to hit. So here we are. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, totally. I'm a huge believer in the fact that the failures or the missteps or even the things that are outside of your control, like macro events, the challenges make you better. And, having lived through the Great Recession, 9/11, even having joined a startup that was a total bust, literally went out of business, those things I think make us more resilient, more adaptable, more creative. And I think those are critical skills in COVID-19, marketing and business. So, when I think about showing up for my team, at StockX, the leadership team spends a lot of time making sure that we are keeping people together, keeping them connected. A lot of people are lonely, isolated, confused, all the negative feelings. And, work can play a role in combating that, and leadership and teams can play a role in combating that. So that's, I think, one really important thread for our company and for me personally, is just being there for my team. I think secondly is encouraging the adaptability, the growth mindset. Again, it's a basic survival skill, right? You gotta be able to land on your feet when unforeseen circumstances present themselves. And in marketing in particular, there are some very new real constraints. If you think about experiential marketing, content, these are areas that really have relied on the in real life experiences to create what they create, and suddenly those avenues are cut off. And so it's only the people who are open-minded, flexible, willing to adapt that can not only survive, but I think actually come up with better ideas. Our team has come up with new ways of working in this environment that I think we're going to bring with us into the future, into the normal, when we return to normal.
We are not returning to normal.
How to generate content in a scalable way that reaches more people. Taking events that might have been activated in real life and bringing them to a digital forum so that more people can participate. These are really valuable skills.
So I think teams that are focused on being adaptable can actually grow through this.
So I've had the great fortune of knowing Josh very early on. Literally, one of the great misses of my entrepreneurial investing career was investing in StockX early on around things that I love, like flipping and sneakers and fast sports cars, you know, as super got me fired up.
Yeah.
What I know is that you're sitting on some really fun information. Can you share anything about like what's been selling for us?
Yes. I'm gonna do a plug. Because we just published and made a report, which is like a gold mine of fun facts, but it's called the StockX Snapshots or Market Movers, and we talk about things that are.
I need that immediately, Andrea. Please, that should be coming up right now. Like, Amy, get on this. I need that now. Go ahead.
I do.
You know, some fun facts, and I'm going to cheat and refer to it, but, you know, puzzles up almost 600%. Slides, because who's going outside anymore, right? So up almost 400%. Masks, obviously up 300%. You know, slippers, again, a big mover, track pants, like all the stuff that we are wearing every day, right? And then I think the other thing that we've seen is a resurgence of what you might call classic silhouettes in sneaker. Like, I think this is a time that people are maybe hesitant to splurge on that really luxury item that may or may not have enduring value, but, you know, the classic silhouettes that have been relevant for 20 years that people are spending.
Plus, you know, for the people that don't collect and flip, who actually wear these incredible, you know, just the dominant sneakers, you know, look, let's call a spade for a lot of human beings. Flexing with that impossible to get pair of off-whites when you go courtside to an NBA game is very much in the culture of this. And if you're not doing that, maybe you don't need to do that right this minute.
100%. And I think the other thing is, you know, The Last Dance, like that has been an amazing influence in our world. And it's this beautiful convergence, right?
Because I think a lot of people, you know, it's such a diverse group, you know, obviously you and I can talk about this all day. Explain even The Last Dance, what that is.
So The Last Dance is this amazing documentary about Michael Jordan and the Bulls and their attempt to win their final championship, NBA championship. And it really talks about, you know, the team, it talks about Michael Jordan, and it talks about his brand as well. And in sneakers, you know, his brand is a force, like potentially the biggest force to be reckoned with. And what we've seen, you know, actually HBO released this, pulled the release date up. It was meant to be released later on, and then when COVID came along and sports were canceled, I think they saw a big window. Again, sign of adaptability, so they released this early. And it was at a time when there was nothing to watch on TV for a sports fan. And so it was just brilliant timing, and it was actually brilliant marketing for StockX. We were not involved. I keep saying that would have been a dream relationship, dream partnership, but it still had this incredible effect of reintroducing people to Jordan Brand shoes. And we had some of our best ever days actually during this period, which is sort of hard to believe. You never would have predicted that, right? In April, and we're all sitting at home and saying, what does this mean for business? We've had records around chicken silhouettes that were released in the past couple of months that have become our best ever sellers, fastest ever sellers. So I think it shows, you know, back to the trends question, like the power of enduring classics, and in a time like this when there's uncertainty and stress and, you know, recessionary forces, like people are spending money on the things that have proven value.
StockX has done a nice job with the content series. Give everybody a little context to that content.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for that plug. We have an amazing team. And basically, you know, their remit is to tell stories that are relevant to our, you know, the products that we sell. So it's always contextualized in our world of sneakers, sort of culturally relevant products, and the people, the creators who use those products to express themselves. And so we have this whole network of influencers, musicians, athletes, all kinds of creators that we collaborate with to tell stories. And often the product plays a role in that. Sometimes it doesn't, but we do make an effort to bring it back so that it's related to what we're selling on the platform. And, you know, we use a mix of long form. We have these amazing, you know, almost historical pieces. We actually have someone on our content team who's a PhD, we have 2 PhDs. One of them is a rap and hip hop historian. And so he can write these amazing long form pieces about, you know, the history of sneakers, through hip hop culture, or we have other pieces that are more SEO oriented, meant to drive results, you know, all the shoes in the last dance, top 10 Jordan shoes. And then we also have other forms, you know, video, and we've been coming up with these more soundbite written forms lately, to just share what it's like to be a person, a creator in Barcelona, a creator in Toronto. You know, as we grow more locally in the community, in many ways, COVID has, you know, shrunk our world because we're all alone more, at home more, but it's also expanded our world because we're online and we're, you know, the boundaries that previously existed for physical interactions have been raised. So, you know, we're trying to lean into that and introduce more of the cultural marketplace and the global marketplace that is StockX to our community. And so we've come up with a few new conceits during this time. One of them is On the Line With, which is that short format interview with creators around the world. And we're going to keep testing and experimenting. I think that's one thing that is very much part of our DNA as a startup, and as a brand that's on the forefront of culture.
Do you believe that every brand should start thinking of themselves more in the production of content as a marketing execution, not just a maker of commercials and ads?
Yes, I think especially, so the world that I live in is direct to consumer. You know, I spent 15 years in direct to consumer startups, and I think when you're building that direct relationship with a consumer, you have to provide context. You have to engage them in a deeper way than just a transactional way. And content plays a huge role to show that you have a voice, you have a point of view, you have authority in the space, that you care about the issues the customer cares about. I think this is part of being a customer-centric brand in business. You talked about that on your last call. You know, I think brands that own their channels and aren't reliant on supply, other sort of distribution, have that advantage where they can go really deep with a customer. And that means you have the data, but it also means you have the relationship, you have the connective tissue with, you know, all the stories that you tell.
You know, when did you get to Detroit?
I moved here, so I started the job in September, and I was commuting, believe this or not, I was commuting from California, so I was flying here on Monday, going home on Thursday. And then my family and I relocated in November, so right in the winter.
So what was your favorite, let's give Detroit a little love. I know it was only like 8 to 10 weeks before,
yeah,
12, 14 weeks before COVID hit, but what was your first observation? I just really enjoyed the resurrection of such a great city in a lot of ways. Your biggest observation for D-Town?
Yeah, I mean, there is so much heart for Detroit, and one of the things that I think is really remarkable is just like when you come to Detroit, the people who are here are just so loving, and they're like, yes, we welcome you, a new person, into our community, and we want you to survive and thrive here because that's how we're gonna thrive. So that's one thing. I mean, the people from Detroit, they just love it, you know, and they want people to participate in the community, which is awesome. You know, I spent a lot of time in my first 6 weeks of the job staying in hotels right in downtown Detroit, and eating in restaurants. So, because I didn't have a kitchen to clean in. So I will do a shout out for what has become my favorite restaurant downtown, which is Layla. It's a Lebanese restaurant, I'm Lebanese, so it has a special meaning to me. But it's like amazing food.
So wait, real quick, just for some fun. So you see a Lebanese restaurant in, I come from, Soviet Russia, and said like there's always that thing. Is this gonna be as good as my grandma's thing or my family's thing? Or are you like a tough critic of Lebanese food and like surprise you? So did it surprise you? Did like have that whole little?
Yes, I am a tough critic, and it did surprise me pleasantly. The dish that I always use to judge is a simple one. It's about language, but it's like, sometimes it's those most simple things where you can tell what's going on. But then it also has like a modern flair, so amazing cocktails, amazing vibe, great service. So you feel like you're in a really cosmopolitan city in like a world-class restaurant. And we lived in New York and San Francisco, so we love that. But
you're spoiled with food.
We're spoiled. But I will say the food here in Detroit has been really fantastic. So pleasantly surprised and eager to get back out there and start eating my face off again.
Well, thank you for being on. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We'll talk soon.
Take care. Bye.
YouTube watcher, what's up? It's Granite. First of all, thank you so much. I hope you're doing super well during these times. Also, want to ask you, please subscribe because my commitment and exploration of YouTube is about to explode stories, polls, more content, more engagement, more surprise and delight. This is the time to subscribe. I hope you consider it, and I hope I see you soon. What do I do right now? I'm trying to figure out how to bring value to my community. Oh shit, I might have 20 minutes right now. Let me tweet out and put it into your story with a link to do free Q&A and then leave, and hope that when I'm answering Jennifer's questions, Sean Connolly or Marlon Avery or Dave J or Cisco or Austin Bender, like that is going to get some value from it because maybe this kind of hit different. You got more respect. Morning, everyone. What's good? What's good? Thanks for joining. Just want to do some random Q&A. Just wanted to wish everybody a good weekend as I get into my mindset of an hour and 15 minutes before the Jets play the Chiefs, which should put me to a 3-hour angry session. So I figured let me get 15 minutes of some happiness. And it's great to see a lot of smiling faces. I hope everyone's well. Dustin, you can just unmute someone and let's get right into some Q&A.
We're gonna go with Ken. Oh, crap.
Hello?
Hello?
Hey, what's up, Gary?
What's good, Ken?
How you doing?
Really well. Dustin, you pick somebody without a video?
He was the first person that raised his hand, so.
Ken, what's good? Well, no, don't unmute him.
Oh, I didn't do that.
Oh, he did it? Ken.
Hold on, I'll ask it again. Unless he dropped off.
Hello?
Ken, what's good?
Yeah, what's up, man? Hey, get that video going, Justin.
Hold on.
That's on you, bro.
What? Yeah, here, hold on.
Yeah, it's on you, Ken.
Why are you doing it?
It should set a pop-up.
Oh,
There we go. There we go, Ken.
How you doing?
Good, man. What's good? Where are you from?
Oh, man, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, Richmond. I'm up in Minneapolis right now.
That's what's up. How can I help you?
Man, so really for me, I mean, obviously a lot of questions, but first I just want to say thank you for everything you do for everybody.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, man. Just looking to grow a business right now, me and a partner. And our big thing right now is we know we can't do it alone. So my big thing right now is trying to figure out when's the right time to really bring on people, build that team. Yeah, like, I mean, that's the thing, trying to, differentiate employees versus interns, volunteers, all that. So like kind of,
as soon as you can afford it.
Yeah.
Like, if you've got no money yet, right now, you're really just trying to find friends, relatives, acquaintances that might just want to learn from the process. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, when I started Bigger Media, the first 4 or 5 people were AJ's friends from high school and college on some real rugged, intern, we borrowed somebody's conference room. I was tapping into the little savings I had for the internship, but mainly I was trying to find a first client to pay for everything. So the question is, most people try to, here's the biggest mistake, Ken. People try to build businesses so they can make money from it. And the most important part of the first 5 years is putting all the money back in it. So to answer the question, when to bring people on, the second you can.
Right.
Right?
Simple as that. No, yeah.
Simple as that. People are fancy when they don't have anything, too. The thing I think people struggle at the beginning because they're ideological versus reality-based. Like, if you have no money in your partner, then you're not learning shit. So you can basically just literally go to your phone, start with the letter A, end with the letter Z, and literally text everybody you know and say, yo, do you want to help us on this thing? This is what we're popping off. Like, do you want to have some side hours? Maybe we can hire you eventually. Sorry, I don't have hours now, but I'll be there. Sometimes people feel guilty for that. My big thing is you have your whole life to pay back that person if it doesn't work out. So if somebody works for you for free for 3 months and it fails and you quit and you hit up Kate Daly, who I see on here, or Steven or Wilson, you say, yo, sorry that didn't pop off, but I'm here for you. You did right by me, it didn't work, but if I can ever be a help to you, people are ideology driven instead of practical driven. The answer is as soon as possible.
All right.
Yeah, let's go.
Perfect.
You got it.
Appreciate you.
Take care.
Yes, sir. You too.
I see a lot of people in the chat. Let's do old school. Too many youngsters in here. You probably don't even know what ASL means. Oh my God. All right, who's up? Dustin, what's going on?
Jennifer's on.
Good.
Oh my God, I'm like being shocked, like, oh my God.
Hi, Jennifer.
I got it. Hi, oh my God, big fan. Okay. And so I started this year being a designer for small businesses and coaches, and I have a couple of clients. But you know, when you say, or people say, oh, meet you down or go, I don't know how to meet you down. Like I don't know how to be specific enough, like to capture their attention. Like if I want to help wellness coaches, like how do I find them or how do I attract them? Or I mean, I think I just have to do like content, like to like graphics or websites or whatever I create. That's the way I think. So I don't know if I'm doing it right.
Well, what are you trying to accomplish? What do you want them to do?
Well, ideally, I'm looking to grow my followers so I can get more visibility and people want to get more.
How often do you How often do you post?
And I was posting like every day, but I realized that it was probably getting my own traffic, so I started posting now like every 2 days.
One time every 2 days?
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of that.
No.
No. When you said you were realizing you were killing your traffic, are you saying that you thought that because you were posting every day, the algorithm wasn't giving as much awareness to the posts?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On Instagram?
Yes.
That's the reason all of you are not getting as many views for your Instagram posts are not because you're posting too often. It's because more people are running ads on the platform, and it's now hit the maturity point where everybody's views are about to go down. And so
even in Reels.
And even in Reels. Jennifer, the whole game is supply and demand of content. And like he's baking, and some people are now spending more time on TikTok. Some people are because of the presidential election are feeling anxiety or spending less time on Instagram. Jerry, I see you flexing your cards, relax, baby. So while everyone's it's just supply and demand. You should be posting 3 times a day. 3 times a day. That's right. Because think about it. If you get 500 views on your post, how many posts were you accustomed to getting? And then what did it go to that made you go every other day?
Because I wasn't like reaching it. I was probably only at 1200, so under 1200. So I was getting like maybe like 20 likes or I don't know, like 100 views in the stories, and then suddenly it's like 10 likes or 5 likes and 50 views in the stories. So it's like.
And so you started posting every other day so that you would get back to the same amount of numbers because that one post would sit there for a longer period of time and get that number, correct?
Yeah.
Jennifer, that is literally the single biggest mistake people make on social media. The number one mistake. Your self-esteem is wrapped up in hitting a number instead of realizing that you have to put out pieces of content to build awareness. Think about this, if you post 3 times a day and they all get 10, now you have 30 instead of once every 2 days for 20, and that means every 2 days you get 60 instead of 20.
Yeah, how do you go about like creating like good content 3 times a day?
By being good. If you're not good enough to produce good content 3 times a day, you're not going to build a business anyway.
Yeah.
By challenging yourself, by coming up with ideas, by not being scared, by showing different parts of your life, by doing everything I fucking talk about every day.
Yeah, because I was kind of like doing educational, but at the same time inspirational, but I was told by coaches like, oh no, don't try to be everything. Because like, don't try to be everything, don't try to be everything.
Be everything that you are. Are you Jennifer, are you paying these coaches?
One I did.
Did it work?
and, well,
Listen, people put out content, watch my shit for free, follow it.
Right.
People are literally seeing my content for free, but would rather pay somebody money who's had less success
Right.
because of insecurity.
yeah. But I think that's the key because I'm being insecure, like, why in the world and everything I'm creating,
Because you're patient. I produced content for 11 hours a day for 3 years before anybody cared.
Come on now. Come on now.
No. Okay, well, there's one reason. Maybe the other reason is because you're overthinking your shit and not putting out your truth.
Yeah.
Yesterday, a good piece of content is what your favorite Halloween candy is. Somebody might just think that you're human, that's good. We want to hear all these beautiful faces. Overthinking shit. Overthinking shit. This is a volume game.
Mm-hmm.
There's no right for you at that exact second.
Yeah. Yeah. Just as you're like with Instagram without reading everything, that is like, like what you do is just spamming. So it's like a feeling that
you're not spamming. Jennifer, you're not spamming, nobody's seeing your shit. You just respond to what less people saw it. Now you're telling me you're spamming. That's a fucking contradiction.
Yeah. But I feel like if I post too often, people are gonna be like, okay, that's enough.
Is this working?
Maybe more people
in 2 days? More people gonna see you. And think about putting up stuff for them. Look what I'm doing right now. Look what I'm doing right now. Look what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to figure out how to bring value to my community. Oh shit, I might have 20 minutes right now. Let me tweet out and put an Instagram story of a link to do free Q&A and then leave and hope that when I'm answering Jennifer's question, Sean Connolly or Marlon Avery or Dave J or Cisco or Austin like that is gonna get some value from it because maybe this time it hit different. Everybody's making content for themselves. You're trying to make content so it leads to customers.
Yeah.
When you
to create a community as
No, not building. The only way you're gonna sell something eventually is if you actually build a community. The only way you can build a community is bring value to others. Everybody's so selfish. That's why it doesn't work. And by the way, it's okay to be selfish. Literally do not look down on anyone who's trying to build something for themselves. But when you're trying to build something for yourself, there's somebody on the other side of this.
Yeah.
You're not here to pay money to everybody else. You're here to get value for you. You're gonna pay something that brings you go watch a movie that you wanna watch. You go buy a bottle of wine or a pair of sneakers or that you wanna drink, that you wanna wear. Everyone's just thinking about what they're gonna get for it. And then they get spooked about the algorithm. The algorithm's not your problem. Your problem is your mindset if you're bringing value to people. If you're thinking this is going to lead to a sale, it's already over before you started.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a fuck about the algorithm. Awesome. Good luck, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Of course. Whatever you want, Chris.
One second. I'm going to put on Nicholas Bianchi. Nicholas, you are on.
Hey, Gabe.
What's good, bud?
So, I'm 15, and I've been trying to get really hardcore into basketball cards.
Okay.
And I've collected some few cards, like I have these like Luka rookies and the Mike Ward.
I'm listening.
And so like I'm wondering like what should I be trying to invest on and like when should I think about like selling if I was trying to do that?
I mean, I'm about to buy a lot of basketball cards right now because they're dipping because it's the off season. And I think the time to sell in the way that you're buying, which is short-term flipping, is when they go off in the first couple of weeks when the hype comes back. I mean, you've already learned it. That's how markets work. You saw how much Luka was going for when he was killing in the playoffs, and you see that it's half as much now, right?
Yeah.
So what you want to do is you want to strike on emotion. When nobody's paying attention, that's when you're buying. And when the season comes back and they go off, when Luka drops 61, that's going to be a high moment. That's when you want to move. You want to move when it's hype. You want to buy when no one's paying attention.
All right, and then so like for like rookies coming in, should I buy the rookies like right when they're like drafted, or should I wait until they play with it?
It depends on how you want to play it. There's always a lot of hype of the unknown. I, for example, have bought 0 Ja Morant and 0 Zion still to this second. 0. But that's how I'm playing. I want to see them play a little bit more so I can decide who they are. But there was plenty of money to be made on Ja and Tyler Hero. I'm just not gambling as much as everybody else. I'm playing a little bit longer. So, but you might love someone. You might just want to, like follow that love ball. You know what I mean? Yeah. I true. So that's more like how you want to do it,
Yeah.
Keep learning. The biggest things at 15 was learning supply and demand, how to market a card, why markets go up, why markets go down. The reason I love this for a lot of kids is that's why I learned so much, which now helps me 30 years later. You're going to learn a lot of stuff along the way. Losing money at this age is a great learning tool.
And I have one more question. As a fellow Jets fan, are you more on the Sam Darnold train or Trevor Lawrence?
Sam Darnold. I would rather trade. Look at the Jets offense. Le'Veon Bell's had 2 runs over 16 yards already and 6 carries with the Chiefs and have been with us.
Yeah.
Football's the ultimate team sport. I think Sam can play, and I think if we have the #1 pick, we're going to get 5 or 6 massive top 100 picks. Probably 3 number 1s, 2 number 2s, and I think we can build a whole franchise around that, and I think Sam can play. Peace.
Thank you.
Next, you got the Dustin Fluid.
Chairwoman Stephanie.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
I'm good. I'm like having trouble with sales. My products are good, like I always get good reviews, but I get the traffic and I don't get the sales. Like this past week I got over like 1.5K people that visited my site.
What do you sell?
I sell natural hair care and skincare products.
Are you getting good traffic? Are you getting targeted traffic?
I'm not really even sure. Like, I get a lot of referrals.
Thank you, Bo.
I get a lot of referrals, and then like most of them are coming from Instagram.
And are you, there's 2 reasons why traffic doesn't convert. It's bad traffic, right? It's not target audience. You have a product, your website, there's actually full. There's B, your website doesn't do a good job with confidence or conversion. And 3, there's the reality that the product isn't priced well and isn't interesting as a product.
Okay.
So I think, have you made sales?
Yeah, I have. Like before COVID hit, like around that time, I made a lot of sales, and then like I believe like 2 months later they like declined, and I'm getting like my regular people that always buy. But I'm trying to figure out ways to actually get out there.
I think one of the things that I would do if I were you is I would call everybody. I would do these 2 things. I would call, literally email instead of a call with everybody who has bought something from you and ask them why they bought.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would make videos on your Instagram right now, asking people, have they gone to your website and why did they buy, and ask them to comment.
Okay.
Consumers always have the answers.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
You're welcome, Steph. What we just told Stephanie is something a lot of you have to ask more. You have to ask why more. You have to ask the audience, like, for real.
Sean Conley.
Oh my God. Hey Gary.
What's good, Sean?
How you doing?
I'm well, man. How are you?
I'm really good. I just want to tell you first, like, thank you so much for everything you do. It's amazing.
Thank you, brother.
So I'm an aspiring singer, And like, the thing about me is I like comedy, so I have a parody page with my friend, and then I have my own channel, and I'm trying to grow both.
Okay.
But like, I don't know how to balance the two, if that makes sense.
I'm not judging yourself.
Okay.
I
It's just like, I don't really want more.
You want one more every day. One day you want this one more, the next day you want that one more. For 90 days, I was super hot building my dad's wine text for him because I wanted to and I wanted to help him. And the next day I changed my mind and focused on sports cards. And then, as a lot of people know, I haven't said a thing about sports cards for 5 weeks because right now I'm focused on Vader X. You're judging yourself. You don't need to know which one you want more. You want them both. And every day, it's like fucking eating cereal, bro. Sometimes you want Lucky Charms, sometimes you want fucking, Captain Crunch. Everyone fucking overthinks this shit, Sean.
That's true.
Like what? You want both?
Yeah, I wanted to say something else too. So I've been dealing with like a lot lately with Corona. I'm sure, like, of course, there's just a lot of stress and stuff.
Yep.
And like my dad's been going through a lot of hard times. He's been battling alcohol abuse, and like it's just like I feel suffocated sometimes by like the negativity and like trying not to like get emotional about this, but like it's just hard to like continue to put out the stuff that I want to do when like I see him in such a place of pain and like suffering.
I understand that. Couple of things. There's two ways. It's kind of almost similar to the last part of like having 2 different accounts. It's okay for 3 days for you to be just so concerned about your dad and not have the energy to go do. And it's equally okay on Thursday of that week to pump out shit like crazy. Like it's like everything's okay. Like every feeling's allowed. You're allowed to fight through and choose to see optimism. You're also allowed to have compassion and sympathy for your dad and have remorse and some sadness. People overjudge themselves, Sean. And when I look at everybody here right now, I'm looking through the, all the faces here. I don't know. I will say this until the day I die. I don't understand why people judge things in such short periods of time.
It's just like, I just recently dropped out of school, and like that too, I added into the stress. So it's just like these factors. It's like I'm in my own head in a way, like.
Every single person in this video is in their own head. We're all in our own head. That's where life is actually lived. Mm-hmm. The body is just a fucking manifestation of what's going on in your head.
Yeah.
Like COVID is exposed so much. Of course you're in your head, that's good. What you need to do is take a breath.
Yeah.
You're a kid.
Yeah.
Your dad's ideology of you gonna be okay because of school is gonna work itself out.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just take a breath. Like, we're so fortunate to be alive. Like, do you know how anxious half the country's gonna be in 2 days? In 2 days, half our entire country on one side or the other is gonna be on complete tilt for weeks in deep anxiety, one way or the other. Like, it's okay. Life, it happens.
Yeah.
Like, you have to stop judging yourself. You've got 80 more years of life, Sean. 80.
Yeah. It's just like I want my dad, to be good. I don't want to be selfish, I don't want to.
Well, then pound your dad with positivity.
I know, but that's the thing, like, that's the reason I feel like he's in this place, that his parents kind of instilled this negative mindset.
My dad too. My dad's mom instilled nothing but negativity into him. I've been spending 30 years pounding positivity into my dad's brain.
Mm-hmm. Man. Hey.
Life is very simple, everyone. You can either dwell about the circumstance, or you can go on the offense. You can dwell, like I do in the micro at times, about what my grandma did to my dad, or you can go on the offense, like I do 99% of the time. You just gotta make sure that that ratio is in a healthy place.
Yeah.
There is no time machine. You can't go back at the time and correct how your grandparents, parented your dad. What you need to do is you need to separate from your dad when he's dragging you down and put positivity in your ears. And then when you're filled up, you need to go back on the offense like your dad and try to pound it into him. And when you're drained and he starts dragging you down, you need to go back to the well of positivity and put it in your ears. That's all we're basically doing for the world. All we're basically doing every day, Sean, is putting out practical and positive content to allow people to fill up so that they can go back into their real lives and do something with it. That's all I'm really doing. I'm basically doing for this world what I did for my dad. Because there is nothing else. I don't give a fuck what anybody says right now. Everything is how you're going to look at it. That's life. Life is how you see it. Period.
Yeah.
You have to surround yourself with positivity. So that you can be full and good, so that you can go and give love to somebody you love like your dad, and then you jump out some of that positivity, and you come back to, it's just fucking, that's the game.
Yeah. I'm gonna focus on that. It's just.
That's the only practical thing you can focus on.
Yeah.
You can't rewire your dad's DNA and upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
You can just pound him with facts of positivity. Perspective. Encourage him to take therapy. All those things.
Yes, in the process, it's just like the healing phase, so it's just, obviously it's having withdrawal and all these things, so it's just like really hard for me to, see him go through this stuff.
Of course you love him, I get it, I live it. But you have to make a choice. Everything's hard. You could have had your arm chopped off. The lawnmower accident, like some kid I know. You could have.
Yeah.
You could have gotten hit by a fucking tree. You could have. COVID could have not happened, and you might have been in a car instead of in a house because the world was normal, and you might have gotten into a car accident and died. That could have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad could have died 9 years ago of cancer. That could have happened. I think people get into this mindset that they have it so bad, they have no context in the world.
Yeah.
Each is in America, let alone the rest of the world, right now. We have no gratitude. You have to use gratitude as your offset for your concerns. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I totally understand. Do you think I can give you my handle or something to help me, or is that? I don't want to seem like I don't know, because my content honestly has not been hitting. I don't know what's going on.
What you're doing wrong is you're not trying to be shit, and I don't want to give you false hint.
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand that.
Yeah,
I didn't say that.
No, but in a good way, right? Like I'm trying to love. Like, what you need to do is try different shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And so I said that, you're welcome. But I said earlier, feeling matters, man. I'm saying this because I don't have to bounce in a minute, everyone. I'm gonna try to do this a lot more often, random Q&As. And I hope that people realize that some other people's questions help you too, and I think that's the value out of this. Sean, what I said earlier is the truth. The number one reason everybody here is here right now on this team is the number one reason 99% of people here are not getting what they want. Let me explain. 99% of people are here right now because I bring them value. I bring you value. Insights, inspiration, a different look at something, clarity. You think I'm funny? I don't fucking know. I bring you value. That's why you right now have chosen to give this time. Most people on here are trying to get the same, but are trying to take, not give. It's not complicated. Share your story. Share your dark secrets that might help somebody. Share a tip. People are really struggling to give. Everyone here is so worried about how to get their content to bring them what they want, they forget that the audience on the other side is the whole punchline. I'm obsessed. Really think about the meta of this. I realized I had a little bit of time, and I'm like, you know what? I know tensions are high because of the election. I know it's like rainy. I'm like, why don't I just give some good value for 20, 30 minutes? Like, that'll be nice. That'll be good. Like, I got plenty of shit. I got plenty of shit to do during this time, but like, how do I bring value? Shout out to Jay Leon, was it Trevor Lawrence? It's just shit that makes it. Anyway, please bring value.
I will. Thank you so much, Gary.
You want to Dustin, thanks for this. Love everybody. Hope you have a good day. Hey everybody, I need you. First of all, thank you so much. So humble for your time. I don't watch, but time is the biggest asset. So thank you for watching that video. If you got some value out of that, there's plenty more where that came from. Feel free to check it out.
That last bite had just the right everything. Bacon, cheese, and roasted beef from Hatch Green Chili's. Perfect, right down to the first bite. Good thing there's a new Hatch Green Chili Bacon Burger at Whataburger. Available by dining, drive-thru, curbside, and delivery.
The cliche question when someone writes a book like this, what was the one trait that you saw across the board of all these leaders? Was there anything that stood out?
Yes, the great leaders, the really great leaders, are people that recognize they had luck because they had failed at something, they overcame it, and the result they're really.
You got more perspective. Everybody's Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm super excited to do an interview on a podcast that's a lot of you know pretty infrequent these days given the global situation. But leadership is something that I am very, very passionate about, and my esteemed guest here, David Rubenstein, who I'm going to let introduce himself and create some context for you both about his co-founding of the iconic Carlyle Group, but also the book that he's written. And I think we're going to get into a fun conversation. So, David, welcome to the show.
My pleasure to be here.
Thank you, my friend. Why don't you give the Vayner Nation, the audience here, a little context of your professional career, and then we'll maybe bounce around and ask some questions, and then we'll go to the book.
And I was trained as a lawyer, wasn't that good at that, so I got out of that. Went to work at the White House with President Carter, wasn't that good at that, so I got out of that. I went back to practice law, that didn't work out so well either again. So I ultimately started a firm called the Carlyle Group, which became a large private equity firm. And I ran that for some 30 years or so. And now I'm the largest shareholder of it and the co-executive chair. But I spend a fair amount of my time on philanthropy. I was a original signer of the Giving Pledge that Bill Gates and Warren Buffett put together. And I now am involved in essentially giving away my money. I spend a lot of time on nonprofits. I am the chairman of the Kennedy Center in Washington. I've been the chairman of the Smithsonian Institution. I'm the chairman of the Council on Foreign Relations. I was the chairman of my alma mater, Duke University. I now spend a lot of time on university boards on the Harvard Corporation, the University of Chicago, and Johns Hopkins Medicine. And I now also have a television show on Bloomberg called Peer-to-Peer Conversations, and that led to a book that I did on leadership, where I took people like Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, Olin Powell, David Petraeus, and so forth, and asked them what it was that led them to be leaders. And I distilled that in a book called How to Lead, which is now out and on the New York Times business bestseller list. So that's what I've been doing.
David, going back to your youth, do you think you went into law because that was a good thing to do according to your parents or society? You know, what made you go down that path?
Well, my parents were not college or high school graduates, so they didn't really have a lot of influence on what I would do because they didn't have experience in that. But if you were Jewish, as I was and am, probably your parents would say, why don't you be a doctor or a lawyer or a dentist? So I didn't think I was very good in the sciences. I was afraid I'd get arthritis in my fingers if I became a dentist. So I said I would be a lawyer, and I was probably better at talking than I was at things that would take me into the medical world. So I became a lawyer, but I also thought that lawyers went into politics. Politics was something I was interested in. My real goal was to work in the White House for president, and ultimately I did that. I didn't have any interest in making money. I didn't care about it. I grew up relative without any money, and so you didn't have any money, you didn't think about it. When I was growing up, there were no billionaires in the United States. It wasn't something people aspired to be.
David, when you, how old were you when you were invited to be part of the Carter White House?
I was 27 years old, much too young. I was only 3 years at law school, but I became the Deputy Domestic Policy Advisor for the President of the United States. So when you're 3 years at law school and at that age, you're going around on Air Force One, Marine One, and Camp David, you can think you're pretty good. And people tell me I was very smart, brilliant, and all that. Then when I looked for a job after we lost to Ronald Reagan in 1980, nobody wanted to hire me because they didn't want to have a Carter White House aide then. So I had to spend a couple months trying to find a job, and I didn't want to tell my mother I was unemployable, so I just told her I had so many offers, I didn't know which one to take.
Crippled by opportunity.
Right, absolutely. So many chances to take a job I couldn't decide.
And at 27, when you got the word that you, in essence, based on what I'm hearing from you, achieved a goal of your youth, was it anticlimactic? Was it remarkable? Was it 15 minutes of jubilation and then fear? Like, how did that moment, I think a lot of people listening right now will end up achieving. I'm always fascinated by goal setting. People go in very different directions, and some people find themselves achieving certain goals or a goal early on. How did that one play in your mind?
Well, I was a junior White House aide, the Deputy Domestic Policy Advisor. I thought Carter would be reelected, and I would be the Senior Domestic Advisor. And then after that, for 4 years, I would go out, practice law, come back as a cabinet officer, eventually work my way up to be a senior, important government official. I didn't care about money so much, so that wasn't a big factor. Unfortunately, we ran against a man named Ronald Reagan in 1980, and I said, how can a man that old get out of bed in the morning? He's 69 years old. Today, he's too young to run for president. And of course, I'm now 71, so 69 looks like a teenager to me. But we didn't think we could possibly lose to him, and that's what happens when you get filled with, I would say, cognitive dissonance. When you work in the White House, people tell you how great you are, and you don't listen to any bad news because you think people don't really know what they're talking about, and they find something bad about you. That's maybe what we've seen in other White Houses today. Today at the White House and the current White House, I suspect most people think that the president's going to win because they just think he's wonderful, I suspect, and as a result, they were probably going to be surprised, I guess.
I think being in business and being the iconic private equity firm that you co-founded, obviously took in many businesses.
Bro, what the? Golly. Just never fucking fails. Oh my gosh. Ooh. Hey. Wait, what'd you say? Oh, yeah, I washed my hair. It was like a shirt.
Okay. Well, she said that we're just gonna do it tomorrow. She's been busy kind of all day.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So now I'm sitting here trying to figure out what the fuck I'm gonna eat.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. It looks like, I think, what's the name, heard you. I'm about to connect this to my thing. Well, shit, okay, damn, like, I was waiting. Yeah, I was like, I really wanted that catfish. I was like, it's gonna be a good night. We're gonna get some smoke. You said what? Yeah, I need to eat too. Well, okay, well, dang, I was just about to do something. I totally forgot. Oh, I remember. Oh, there it is. Stop sharing. Well, damn. Oh. Right, yeah. Well. Oh, well, I mean, I can come and bring, I mean, I was about to be done pretty much with what I was doing. And I'm trying to think. I don't. I was gonna go get some, but you know, people, you know, they want you to get ace, and I'm not about all that really. So it's like it's kind of a hassle. Because I'm like, fam, I'm not trying to, you know, that you know, I like to respect people's, you know, wishes. I was gonna try some CBD, but then I was like, it's so annoying that they have not, you know, they don't have dispensaries out here. That shit is just so wild to me. But that is, I mean, I was about to leave, and that's part of what I was gonna do as far as my errands were concerned. But I can bring him to see you. I mean, bring him back over. I mean, he's just been chilling. I think he can tell we like talking about him. He keep looking at me. Sir, on the blue. Pistol. Over there. You already know. Yes. Over. Yes. Over. You know where to go. Yes. Thank you. He's just supposed to be on the blue, on the couch, on the blanket. 'Cause his hair is going everywhere. Yeah, I know you. Oh, I know you don't mind me having him. He's been getting on a good little routine. I think it's maybe about that time. I said he's been getting on a good little routine. Yeah. Yeah, because he's doing really good right now because the dogs is like barking and tripping outside. He's just sitting there calm. And yeah, he walking all around the floor now, so he definitely knows how to walk on the floor. So I know he's such a sweetheart. But yeah. Oh, yeah, I think I'm pretty much done with what I was doing on here. I just had to get all this stuff organized because I was just like, this page need to be updated. So yeah, I would say I guess I'm good because I was like, I don't want to be. For me to continue, I need some smoke. But yeah, I guess I'll head over there. I gotta eat too. Oh, I know what I'll do. So I guess I could come bring him, and then I'm probably gonna stop by Piatas, even though they be annoying the fuck out of me about that little mask. At least the one off of near you guys. The one near me, they just, they know me. But I'm like, this other one, I was like, y'all doing doing the most here. And that's what I'm gonna do. And then hopefully what's the name would be available. So I know how to. I mean, like, well, hold up. Are you gonna like take care of him tomorrow? Yeah, like you gonna like, cause he don't be sitting in the corner with, like you gonna play with him, do something. Cause I'm saying that cause it's like, cause what I'm saying is like, if, you could just see him over here, I could just leave him here. Cause it's a lot, putting him in the car and moving him around. Okay, cool. Cause I mean, put him in the car, he's gonna be doing a lot. Yeah. But okay. Well, okay. Well, I believe I'm good then. All right. Cool. All right. Well, I guess I'll just see you soon. All right. Okay. Bye.